Good night, good night, good night, good night, good night. We are live and locked on. Good night. You are watching the Marcia Week show, and we are coming to you live from Barbados. Listen, this is an amazing night tonight, and we are going down the road. We have so much to do. We have a guest coming on from Uganda. We have a guest coming on from Jamaica. Oh my Lord, we've got so much going on tonight. Let me say welcome, welcome, welcome. And we're going to ask you to share. We ask you to like. We ask you to subscribe. So everybody, right now, make sure that you are sharing. Everybody's locked on. Oh, wow. People are on already. Queen B, good night. Oh, my Lord. Yes, we're going for 800 likes tonight. I love it. I love it. Angel Humble, Junie Rock. Oh, wow. And I can't call everybody's name tonight because we have such a packed show. Erwin Nurse, welcome. But I gotta welcome my peoples. I have to welcome my peoples. Oh, wow. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Victorious Queen. Oh, everybody who is on. Everybody who is on. Oh, wow. And we have got to go down the road, but we love you all. We love you all. We welcome everybody who's on tonight. I can't call everybody's name because we've got some things to do tonight, okay? But we love you all and thank you for joining us. And please, please like. Right now is a good time to like and share. Like and share. This is a time to do it all. And guess what? We are going to go right into our national anthem tonight because, as I said, we're going down the road, you all. We're going down the road. We have a lot to share, a lot to talk about tonight. Yes, 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 yes. So we're going to ask you to like and share. And here is the national anthem of Barbados. Yes, 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 yes. I hope you heard me humming. You heard me singing? Barbados! Hey, anybody ready? Who's ready for a change? Who is loyal sons, ye loyal sons and daughters? We hereby make it known. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Now, folks, listen. Oh my God. Oh my God. We are excited. We are excited. Are you sharing? Are you liking? Are you sharing? Are you liking? Are you sharing? Listen, somebody tell me how many likes we have there on YouTube. How many likes? Oh my goodness. Yes, I'm ready for this weekend. So that's the thing. We are ready for this weekend. This weekend, guys, we have the march tomorrow. All right. We have our march tomorrow and we are ready for the march. We are ready. Marcia says we are ready for change. Marcia says I definitely am ready for that change. Marcia, I liked and shared. Marcia means business. You mean business. Get out of your beds tomorrow. Come out tomorrow. No rain is going to fall. Get out of your beds tomorrow. Come down there. Remember, it's on the 14th. Tomorrow is it. In 6 days, they're saying that they're going to make a decision on this cybercrime bill, you know. That's what the government is saying. And we saw today, I was interviewing Rickford Burke from Guyana, who now lives in New York, and you can see the effect of the cybercrime bill on the people of Guyana. And majority of the people that have been locked up, in fact, he sees, according to him, all of the persons that have been arrested as a result of the Guyanese cybercrime bill have all been talk show hosts. Have all been talk show hosts. Are you listening? Now, this is the same cybercrime bill that our former Attorney General stood up in Parliament and hailed as being so wonderful. And look, he says, look at what happened in Guyana with the cybercrime bill. They brought him into Parliament and he spoke for almost 3 hours about a bill that has locked up talk show hosts in Guyana, and mainly talk show hosts of color. There is one, according to what I understand, only one East Indian locked up. Everybody else are all black people that locked up in Guyana. Talk show hosts that are speaking up against the government, that have been locked up and arrested in Guyana, according to Rickford Burke. Is that what we want to see happen in Barbados? You know that if that bill is passed the 14th, by the 15th, they're going to come for me at my house. You know that, right? They're going to do everything to try to lock me up. Not just me, but Caswell and Kimar and everybody who says anything on the show, or who does any kind of podcast. We're not the only ones. There's Fred Corbin. There is Winston. There is Kimar has his own show. I mean, there's so many persons. Emmanuel, everybody. Is that what we want for Barbados? So tomorrow, come out. Come out tomorrow. Yes. Yes, Judy Gill. So come out. Get out of your beds. Put on your clothes at 10 o'clock. Redmond's Drive. Redmond Drive. Right there at the lights there at Fontabelle. At that crossroads. Meet us at there. Meet us at the crossroads. Fontabelle Crossroads. Redmond Drive. Where the lights are. Meet us there, people. Let's make a decision at that crossroads tomorrow. Everybody, we are 6 days away from what they plan to do in Barbados. The censorship that they plan to occur, they want to occur in Barbados, that we see happen in some of our brothers and sisters in Africa. And they claim this is a European Union Council. the European Council that have advised them to do this. Why isn't it in America? You want to ask yourself that question. Why isn't it in America? Why hasn't it been in Jamaica? There is a saying that said, "Doppy know who to frighten." You ever hear that one? Doppy know who to frighten. Right? And I'm getting to understand our laws here. These are stringent than even Guyana's. The laws that are proposed for the cybercrime bill in Barbados, they are more stringent than the laws that are in Guyana that have locked up the talk show hosts. We are not afraid. Queen Bee, well, come down tomorrow. Put on your nice clean clothes, wash your nice clean face, put on your makeup, put on your nice clean shoes, and step out in power and authority tomorrow. If we're not afraid, step out tomorrow. Come on down tomorrow. Don't blame the rain. A diabetic who had some amputation called me this week and said, "Mel, I had some amputation, but guess what? I'll be at the march though." No longer hospitalized, rest up a bit at home and says, "Listen, I missed a couple weeks of the march, but I'm coming back because I have grandchildren though." What's wrong with you? What's wrong? You have 2 feet? You can stretch? You can move them hips when you're ready to go to all those fetes and dancing? Kadooman coming up. You have your tickets are ready to go to Kensington? You booked up already for Kensington, you know? Take a walk down. Take a walk down. Get in your car. Drive and park. Right now, look at what has happened to Guyana, and our laws are more draconian than Guyana. Why aren't we not surprised? Why aren't we not surprised that our laws are more draconian than Guyana's? Are you surprised? Not surprised at all. The question is, are we going to allow it to stay that way? And I'm serious. I'm talking to everybody who will lock on. And there are people who tell me, "I watch this is like days of our lives." But you know what? I hate to bring this news to you, but I'm not on here to entertain you. I don't come on to entertain you. I love you, my Bajan people, but that's not why I come on here. I'm not an entertainer. There is a purpose to this show. We educate on this show. We agitate. We motivate. We mobilize. If you get entertained, so be, but that's not the purpose of this show. So people will see me on the road and they say, "Oh, this is like days of our lives." So if all you're getting from the show is entertainment, no. No, that is not the purpose of these shows, Barbadians. Tomorrow, 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock. Yeah? As Noel says, people are out partying tonight, drinking, smoking weed tomorrow, right? Well, I won't call anybody idiots and of that, okay? But I'm saying that, folks, right? Listen, folks. Ask the European Council, why is this law not in America? Why you come down here and send your people down here to advise us and our colonial, these black leaders that we have with a colonial mindset, huh? Or black leaders with colonial mindset, they go ahead and this is what they've picked up, right? They go ahead and they have picked it up. They've picked up everything that they have picked up. Now, I want to address something. I saw as we are getting ready for our guests to come on. As we know, Saturday is a march, and then Sunday we have the roadside parliament. And our guest is going to be coming on anytime soon now from Uganda, and he's going to be joining us very soon. And I'm just making sure that he has everything that he needs. Okay, just telling him to join. All right. Now, I want to address something. I saw in the newspaper that there is a particular lawyer that is making mention of the marches that we do. And it's the second time that this lawyer has done so. And I really want to set the record straight tonight. And I'm sorry I don't have in my hand, because it's not close to me, the permits that we have received. I want that particular lawyer, LALU HANUMAN, because that's what they said, that's what the newspaper said. The newspaper, the allegations, or what I read in the newspaper, LALU HANUMAN, is that you are claiming that we were allowed to march in the red zone for World Cup, and they did not allow you to march in the red zone. Mr. Hanuman, that is incorrect. In fact, let me just state something here, Mr. Hanuman. We had a legitimate permit to march. One of the things that I started off by saying is that when I started this journey, I'm going to follow the law. The very first time that I went out to a march, you know what I did? To a protest march. You know what I did? I called a lawyer, Mr. Hanuman. And I'm surprised that you, as a lawyer, doesn't know the law, or is not applying the law. Let me take that back. Not that you don't know the law. Let me take that back. Let me rephrase what I said, because you're a lawyer. I'm sure you know the law, but that you are not understanding then what the law says. I mean, it's very, very clear. If you're going to be protesting in front of an official building, it has to be at least 200 yards. It's there. Read it. So when the police told you that you couldn't protest in front of the building that you want, the Israeli embassy, you said no. That's where you wanted to protest. Well, you had a choice, sir. You could protest there and get arrested. If your issue matters to you so much, why didn't you protest and get arrested? Or they told you you could protest a little further down. That's what they told us. They told us, listen, you have been protesting and starting at Kensington. You can't do that for the month of June, Marcia. Tell your team they can either abandon the marches or they could go further down to REDMAN'S Drive. And that's what we have done. So I'm going to ask you, sir, to please, it's the second time that you've done it, insinuating that we're getting preferential treatment from the police. That's a lie. We have a legitimate permit from the police, and we pay for our police services. Do I believe that we should be paying for police services? No, on that I agree. And if you want to, if the laws need to be changed, I agree. Go back to the drawing board and try to change the laws. But the police, what are they going to do? They are carrying out the laws that have been on the books for so many years. You're a lawyer and you understand the law. I know you do. So please stop misleading the people. And do not mix up our names in all of this nonsense. It's a simple thing. You either you protest in front of the Israeli embassy and get locked up, or you protest the 200 yards that they told you to protest. It is simple. Please just stop this a whole lot of stuff in the media, and do not include this movement in what you are doing. Please. We are not, for the record, for everybody who is watching, we are not getting any preferential treatment from the police services in Barbados and from no one. We are abiding by the law. That is it. We were given the same option as you, LALU Hanuman, and you chose not to march. Instead, you chose to go to the newspaper. Well, take yourself and your march to the newspaper and leave us out of it, please. Because you were the same one who wrote in a WhatsApp message to say that we are getting funding from right-wing organization. It was you and David Commission. And I'm saying to you, LALU Hanuman, please, once again, will you take our names out of your mouth? And let's set the record straight. And I'm very, very think anybody, you can go ahead and show him the link. I'm very serious about it, because it's not right. It's not true. Whatever we do, it's fair and square. We got our permit. Do not mix up our names in that nonsense. We abide by the law and we have no preferential treatment from the police services. Thank you so very much. So now that is over, let us welcome our guests of honor tonight, who is joining us. He's joining us from Uganda. And let me tell you, you know what? It's very, very late in Uganda right now. Very, very late. And I'm going to try to call his name. I'm going to try to call his name, but it's SHERURA. Oh, Lordy, I'm not going to try the rest of it. And he's coming to talk about the impact of colonized education on Black leaders. And tonight we want to welcome Mr. SHERURA, and he will correct me if I'm wrong with the pronunciation of his name. Welcome, SHERURA, to the Marcia Week Show.
Thank you for having me, Monsieur.
Did I pronounce your name correctly?
Yeah, you did. You did correctly. It's a SHERURA.
SHERURA. Woo! I wrote
There
it.
You go. You have it.
SHERURA.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah.
I got it. Now, SHERURA, you are a Pan-Africanist scholar, aren't you?
Yeah. Yes, I am.
Yes, and you are you're right now in Uganda. What time is it in Uganda?
It's coming to 3 in the morning. I think it's 2:30 in the morning.
Oh my goodness, 2:30.
Yeah.
Oh no, it is just 7:25 here in Barbados. And have you been to this side of the world? Have you been to the Caribbean before?
Not Barbados in particular, and not the Caribbeans, because is Jamaica part of the Caribbeans?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Yeah. Been to Kingston once. I went through
wonderful.
Kingston.
Okay,
Yeah.
Good. Well, you've got to come to Barbados. You know, we
I'm
were
coming.
introduced. Yeah, you know, we were introduced to you by Maxine McLean, and former Minister of Foreign Affairs, and she said, "Listen, there's a young man that I wanted to have on the show, so we have to give credit to Miss Maxine McLean for making a connection with you, SHERURA, from Uganda, to be on the show." Yeah. Wonderful, right? Now,
Yeah, yeah,
sir, I, the topic that we discussed. I mean, there's so many things that you could talk about. You're so well learned, and we've made
mm,
such great presentations in
mm,
a lot of, just a lot of podcasts all over. But tonight,
right, right,
we want to talk about, colonial education and its impact on
right,
leaders, right? Our black
right,
leaders.
right,
Yes. So,
right.
yes, go right ahead, sir.
Thank you very much, Sister Masir, and thank you for having me. I really do appreciate the opportunity that you have, granted me and all the people that are listening in. I say greetings to the people, Barbados, the family in Barbados, the family in the Caribbean, and I got to tell you, there are a lot of people from the African continent watching right now. People from the U.S., people from Europe, watching your show tonight. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I gotta say, you're doing a great job for our people and for our society. We really appreciate you, and you're a brave soldier, and we need more like you kind. Keep up the fight and keep up the strength. Keep up speaking for the people, mostly for the vulnerable. It's very important. We have to speak for the vulnerable people. When we talk about, education and how it has incapacitated our leaders.
Yes.
When we talk about education, they say a society is as good as its education. If you want to see the weaknesses in a society, you look at its education. The
Mm-hmm.
education of the black man and the black woman started from, it was started by the people who enslaved us,
Yes.
and that education was not meant to make us better men and women. No, it was meant to make us, good servants
Mm-hmm.
of the master. And that was the whole intention. Even the church, where the church started schools, the missionaries, the intention was not to make us, equal to the white man. No, their intentions were to get an education that will make us serve the white man better, like carpenters and other casual jobs that we could do. So that was the whole education. That was the foundation.
Mm-hmm.
So as it went on, and when all our societies got what we call independence, most of the independence leaders didn't have time to go back and look at education and re-examine and put it back to the rightful way. Most of them had to continue because most of them were selected by the Europeans,
Yes.
and those who were not selected were murdered. People like Kwame Nkrumah, people like you can have Malcolm X, you can have people like so many people. People. Some of them even had to be shot dead, point blank, like Thomas Sankara, Sekou Toure. Now these were revolutionary people who were saying, no, we need to ditch everything that was, associated with slavery.
Mm.
And see, a people, my sister Messiah, people who were in bondage for more than 500 years, there's a psychological change that happens onto them that you can't realize. See, when you look at the Chinese, a kid
Mm-hmm.
in China is proud to be Chinese. The kid in China is brought up on the foundation of pride because this kid is educated, number one, in the Chinese language. The
Uh-huh.
kid has his name. Now, this is now the kid is being prepared to go out there and compete because capitalism is about competition. And when you compete, you must have a competitive advantage. How do you create a competitive advantage? By innovating based on your cultural foundation. Now, what happened to the black man who was held in bondage for 500 years is he started innovating from the foundation of the education system that was handed over to him. And that education system was from the foundation of the slave master. And even the education system was not to make him better. So you find that the kid in China, the kid in Japan, the kid in Germany grows up in the system of pride. This kid, it's easier for this kid to develop. So even the natural leader in China is way easier because the kid in China is patriotic.
Ah.
Now, but now the kid in the black community is raised from a point of inferiority complex. This is very important, you see. So this kid, because you see, post-independent, most of the leaders were handpicked by the slave master. So
Mhm.
they had to be, towing the slave master's line of thought. So this leader, the modern leader, was a new slave master. So Malcolm X talked about these kind of people. He talked about them. If he said Uncle Toms, so most of them didn't have anything good for the black man. They despise their own people. We
Yes.
had the same problem here in Africa. So most of the leaders were European trained. They started from the UK, they started from the US, they started from Europe. So when they would come back, they would find they were not in touch. They were out of touch with the regular people. They would
Mhm.
despise the regular people. They would look at the, you see, our leaders. I was, before I came on this show, I was reading on Barbados, and one of the things that I saw is that the billionaires in Barbados, most of them are white men. And you see, if you are, and this is not in Barbados alone, if you go in all black countries,
Mhm.
the ones who have the money are not black. And in the country I come from, the British name Uganda, the top billionaires are Indians.
Mhm.
The neighboring Kenya, the top billionaires are Indians. The
Mhm.
South Africa, the top billionaires, 70% in South Africa, no, 90% of land in South Africa is owned by 10% white. Now, the remaining 10% of land is owned by the black South Africans. The economy is owned by white South Africans. So we have kept in the perpetual servitude, and thanks to our education. So now going back to nurturing leadership,
Mhm.
leader is nurtured from education.
Mhm.
Now, education doesn't start in school, it starts from the society as we're preparing people, the kids from home. These kids have to come up with common values. But if
Mhm.
you look at a black man right now, what values do we have? We have the values of the white man. But you see, the values of the white man have even failed the white man. The white man right now is getting extinct because he's becoming self centered and he's becoming greedy and he's dying out. So, what values do we have, Messiah? We don't have no values. If we follow they said there's a saying that a foolish fly follows a dead body in the grave. So we've been, since we got out of slavery, we've been following the white man, the white man. The Arab. See, recently there was an event. It was embarrassing. It was in Korea. There was a summit, Korea African summit,
Mhm.
and black leaders from Africa all went to Korea. You should have seen them lining up taking pictures. They looked like real slaves in suits. They didn't do anything for their people. Now imagine the entire continent, all the leaders flying to Korea, a small nation of Korea that got independence with most of these African countries. But it's total embarrassment. So these men, the leaders, are inferior. They don't believe in themselves. So how are you going to advance a society that you don't believe in? That you don't even believe in yourself. So how are you going to advance that society? See,
Mhm.
a man who doesn't like himself cannot tell you that he likes you. No, that's a lie. That's a lie. They can't even like you. If you don't like yourself, you can't like anybody else. So the challenge we have as a society is that we are building a society. We are being led by people who don't like themselves, who don't even know where they're going. So such
Mhm.
kind of people cannot lead us anywhere. See, going back. So if you look at our education, look, and you study. I've studied education from Africa to the Caribbean, to America, to Europe, to Asia, where black people are. Our education system is only to make us subservient to other races. Now, if you looked at the Korean summit I just spoke about, uh, Africa, we have northern part of Africa, which is the Arabs.
Mm-hmm.
and we have the sub-Saharan Africa, which is the black Africa. Now, if you realize in that summit, I wish I had this picture and I'll send it to you. If you looked at this summit, the people from the North African leaders from North Africa didn't go Egypt, Tunisia, Algeria. They just sent representatives. The only people that went were black leaders from our areas. So this is our problem. You see, if you're diagnosing a problem, you don't start from the top. You go down to deep to the bottom. Our problem is education. Now, when there was a guy, there was an agent of Barbados when it was still under, as in 1689. He wrote something. This is from a book of Chancellor Eric Williams, a great man he was. Now, this agent wrote. This is in 1689, and he says in his writing, he says, uh, 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 by a kind of no, it says he states by a kind of magnetic force, England draws to it all that is good in the plantations. So this was in 1689. This was an agent of Barbados writing and saying that everything good from the plantations, that there's a magnetic force that pulls everything good to England. So if you look at our economic systems, all of them, they feed in the white man's land because the white man was smart. In 1944, these white people sat down and formed. There were 43 countries, and they formed the Bretton Woods institutions, the World Bank and the IMF. Now, these were to control the international monetary system that me and you subscribe to because we have the Visa cards, we have our money. If our money is not approved by IMF, it doesn't become money anyway. So, what happened is that we who were slaves kept as slaves because we have subscribed to the system that is owned by the person who enslaved us. But even better, because it's even better, you see, if you practice that person's culture, you don't advance. You follow that person right in their footsteps. The shirt you buy has come from England. So how do you advance economically? The kettle you buy has come from the US. Anything from Barbados, you don't buy it. Anything from Africa is voodoo. Anything from Haiti is not standard. How did the Europeans develop standards? So where are we heading, Monsieur, if you to tell me? I know it's only one way. We follow the white men. And we can criticize the leaders. But if we're to criticize the leaders, Monsieur, let's look at ourselves. Let's look at ourselves. What are
Mm-hmm.
we doing to change our societies? Because it starts with me and you. What are we doing? You're doing a great job because you put in a platform for us to interact. You see, the Barbados is now linking with Africa right now as we speak. This is very important. So you've done your job. But what are the rest of us doing? The people who are saying that everyone has an excuse. They're saying lead us. No, the leaders is us, me and you. So we have to look at a way we can empower people to first of all believe in themselves. This is very important. The first human being was a black man, Monsieur. The first human being come on this planet was black. See, the universe doesn't make mistakes. It doesn't. Never life doesn't make mistakes. What is making mistakes is our mental capacity. The fact that we don't inspire people. There's people who came from slavery and became mental slaves. And they worshipped everything the white man does, everything. We do everything the white man does. And we don't go back to find our roots. Oh, Monsieur, I can go on for forever. Let me take a break. Thank you.
Oh wow. I mean, I am just glued here and caught up. I don't know if Mr. Franklin wants to come in here any at all. He has to let me know. Give me a thumbs up. This is Caswell Franklin, and he's a former senator of Barbados and one of our resident panelists on the show. And I know he's listening backstage and smiling all the way. And I'm listening to you talk about colonized education and its impact on our black leaders, and I'm just shaking my head and said, "Oh my goodness, you are reading our mail, Mr. Franklin. Good night, sir. How are you?"
Yeah, good night. And I'm a bit rested now from the last. I think Marcia, before I go on and say anything else, let me tell the people, Marcia and I have not fallen out. You know, I had so many queries, but they didn't see me on Wednesday. They said, if me and Marcia fall out, and I come on the show. So I was tired, you know. So, you know, a few people called to say that they hope I've been better and stuff, but most people are concerned that we broke, that this team will be broken up. Tell them that that's not going to happen.
Not at all, not at all. I mean, Dave was down by you on yesterday collecting donations and everything.
Yes,
So
you know, but I tell them not worry. It was
yes,
just
they're
I was
worried.
too
They're
tired.
worried.
Oh,
Yes,
but and I was listening to the presentation, and I'm saying, but this show is too small for this presentation. This should be aired nationally. It should be set. It should be delivered to a joint sitting of Parliament. Something, because you know he what he is saying is absolutely true. But I don't think anybody in Barbados have actually verbalized it. You know, he has hit the nail on the head. You know, and we seem to believe that white is right, and he has the courage to say it. And because a lot of people don't want to say things in Barbados, don't want to say anything because they're fearful of the backlash. You know, they go to white stores, they don't get credit. You know, they say these kind of things. But our politicians, he has nailed it. It seems as though he was reading our news or watching Barbados. You know, it is amazing. And if he can see it from this far, we should be seeing it too. You know, but I am so glad. You know, I wish that he could make this presentation. Even Marcy, we have to like actually accept this and send it to as many people as will receive it.
yes, we
And
have to.
I promise to send it to the Prime Minister.
Yes. Well, I told him, as long as, because it's after 3 o'clock a.m. there in Uganda. But I said to him, if he can come on, just set aside 20 minutes a week for us to come on and to just talk on this topic. I think it would be great. I mean, there's something that you said, that he said that a lot of our leaders, because of how they were educated,
Yes, I heard
they
that.
come back to us, so we go away to be educated, like myself. You got educated in the US or in the UK, wherever, you come back here, and he said we become out of touch with the people and with the culture. Can you just take a couple minutes, Sherura, and just break that down for us a little bit? Give us examples of that and break it down for us. Thank you.
Yeah. See, sister, and I want to thank the gentleman for the compliments. I appreciate you. And most when the leaders, when the elders in our in African society, when the elders compliment you, you don't have anything else to say. It's a big reward. So I take that with gratitude. But Sister Messiah, before I even go to giving examples, I would say if black people went back to understand the people they come from, if they genuinely understood where they came from, they would understand life. And once human beings understand life, then they understand humility. And when you understand humility, you serve people. And you see, when you have humility, it radiates. You don't even have to do anything. See, what we're doing is in politics. Why I'm not a politician. I'm just a student of Pan Africanism, because I found the white man's politics is about competing for who is the better devil, who's the bad guy, who's a good guy, and this does not self it does not serve people. We should be competing to serve people. Serving people is a God given purpose. So but if black people and if they really understood where they come from, because you see the people in the diaspora, the people in the Caribbean, the people in West Indies, they got disconnected from their roots. So it's very difficult for them but to go back and connect the roots, and most especially the fact that our people globally, this is not only for the Caribbean, it's not only for Africa, it's not only for Europe. Globally, our people are the poorest, and we have imitated the white man for as long as we can, and we're still poor. And whatever we try to do, we're poor. And we have worshipped, we have, the gods, we have fasted, and we are poor. And the few of us who get the money, we run away from our people. And we're just going hide probably in the UK and London. Or in the US. So this is a challenge when you go to Pakistan, when you go to rural Afghanistan, when you see black people, when you go to Baghdad and you see they are all poor. And it's not that these people are not intelligent. It's because these people lack inspiration. These people lack someone to guide them. That's the leadership. So we have a leadership crisis all over the black community. And this is not because the leaders are intentionally doing this, but they have been educated. They have been incapacitated. So we have to sit with humanity, the black people, and say, look, the best way to re-examine ourselves and understand leadership is to go back and study the leadership of our ancestors. That is before we got messed up by this vibe. You can't even blame the leaders, because 500 years in servitude, you can't recover from that. And I think it's a miracle. Now, before the 500 years, remember, we had the 1,000 years of Arab slavery. You don't learn this, because that is not supposed to be taught. So psychologically, to recover from that, I think black people have pulled off one master stroke. How can you recover from this and you still keep moving? Because already other people were wiped out in the India, the Native Americans, people Central and South America. A lot of tribes were wiped out. But we're here, man. You talking after what we went through. So if we go back and connect and understand the ways of our ancestors, how our people in ancient Egypt, these were your grandfathers and your grandmothers. And when I see people from the Caribbean, I see people from the US, I see my tribe's people. I said, this could be my cousin. But we can't have this, because education has incapacitated us. We can't think for progress. We think for fighting. We're competing in poverty. That's what we're doing. Thank you.
Oh my Lord. This is very deep this evening, and I see the woman who is responsible for SHERURA being on this program. I tell you the kind of listen, this is you can't break this one up. It don't matter what you all are doing, and then you don't worry because we have such a strong bond and a love for our country, Barbados. This is another former senator that is on this program. We have capable people on this program, and Miss McLean is who has brought this young man to us. Miss McLean, welcome and good evening.
Good evening and thank you. And Marcia, I will start by trying to call his full name out of his. And so if I do it correctly, he will tell me yes. It's SHERURA MPORA KACWAGURE. Close enough?
Yes, you got it. Yes.
Let me just say welcome. And I am so happy that we finally been able to do this, because I reached out to you some time ago because I would have heard you speak on multiple occasions. And I think the whole Pan-African movement, that whole movement is so important. For me, as I listen to you, you've really explained some of what I would call the challenges, the what's the best word I can find it? The unfortunate reality of Black leadership globally in several instances. But on the other hand, I'm seeing, especially when I look at the continent of Africa, and I see what is happening where, as I said, where the world's young people live. Because when you look at the demographics, global demographics, Europe is dying. You go to some countries in Africa and the average age is under 25. In Barbados, we often hear about an aging population. Persons like Caswell and myself are considered the elders. Thierry, who is commenting and thanking you, is a brilliant young man under 30 years old, and we are seeking to nurture them. But what I'm really happy and I'm happy that you acknowledge the work that Marcia is doing, because a lot of people in Barbados and across the Caribbean don't fully appreciate. To get you at 3 o'clock in the morning when you should be in your bed to talk to us is important.
Yeah.
But that is part of the linkage, that is part of the connection that we are seeking to foster. And I'm so happy, Marcia, that you were able to get SHERURA on the program this evening, because while we are miles apart, hours apart, things are changing. And even though we may not necessarily be able to get together physically in a simple way, technology allows us to do this. And I am happy that many Barbadians are able to hear the voices and to see your face and to understand that we share a common history, and we also have common issues to tackle. If we follow what's going on the positive side, we see all that's happening in Niger, in Burkina Faso, in Mali, etc., as they try to break the oppressive hold that France has had on the countries that are former French colonies. As we look and we wait in anxiety to hear what will come of the most recent election in South Africa. We recognize that there's a role for politicians, but there's also a role for the people. Persons like yourself have a serious commitment. And I think in hearing you and getting persons like yourself on, it really reinforces for me, and hopefully for people who follow the Marcia Weeks show, the commitment that persons like Marcia Weeks and yourself have to making a difference in the lives of the people of our respective countries and regions. So welcome, my brother. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Miss McLean. And one of the reasons when I heard of you, why we wanted you on the show, it's all about developing leaders. And I listened to some of your podcasts, and I thought it would be very, very important for us to begin that re-education process, because you've been talking a lot about colonized education, and you talked about how even the children of the Chinese, that they start learning in their own language, they're learning in their own culture. We had to now learn a new language, and how it has affected us and how we treat each other. As we become leaders, we go away and we become educated. Somebody says that part of the problem that we have as Black people is that we're over-educated. Can you comment on that? Someone in the comment section said our real problem is that we're over-educated. Can you comment on that?
You see, and I want to thank Sister Maxine for, and I say in Africa where I come from, when the elders compliment you, it's a lot of it's huge, it's heavy on me. It's when I get compliments from the elders. The elders are everything. So this is what we talk about on the foundation of education. The African education talks about the elders. We fear the elders. So this is the beginning. And then the elders, we actually in the African context, when the elders make mistakes, you don't have anything to say. You just shut up because they're the elders. So now talking about what you're saying, we're overeducated. I believe we are over miseducated, because if you look at a white man's education, It's more about, taking advantage of, exploiting, robber. See, the foundation we own of capitalism is what enslaved us. If you read, Chancellor Eric Williams' book, Slavery and Capitalism, we were enslaved by capitalism. We were not enslaved because we were black people, not because of our skin color. No, no, no. It was because the Europeans wanted cheap labor. And actually, labor that not cheap labor they couldn't pay for. So, and they justified it by our skin tone. So, so the education of the white man was built on the foundation of plunder, gluttony, greed, and robbery. So, see, this is his culture when he came after feudalism and he transitioned to capitalism. He became vicious because the white man, when he was in communism, it was like the African. They were staying in a communist setup. But when they got to feudalism, they enslaved themselves. They, if you read about 1600 Britain, it was horror. You see, the things they did to black people, they were already doing it. In 1600 England, they'll get a man drunk, so they could kidnap him and take him over to the overseas plantation and enslave him. See, this is so. If you see, uneducated people are educated best on the culture foundation of their society. This is what they call education. So you see, the Japanese and even the Chinese, even when they are doing business, they go. Even the Indians, they have their names. They never called themselves. I was baptized a white man's name, and I tossed it in the garbage bin because it was not my name. I didn't accept it. No, I can't be called a white man's name. I don't accept that. So you see, the Indian, the Chinese, the Japanese, even when they're competing in the global war, they come as Indians and Chinese, proud. They worship their own gods. They have them. Even when they see the pictures, they see the picture of their God. The God is Krishna. This is very important for inspiring young kids. The same with Japanese, the same with, the Chinese. They believe in Taoism. So this is very easy. So when you're starting education, you're starting from that foundation. The culture is where you start to educate, because we had education before we met white people. We had our own education and it worked for us. So we had to just keep on advancing and improving it. That is good education. So now we're studying in someone else's education, but that someone enslaved us and almost wiped us out because he got so greedy. And we believe that this education is going to advance us and prepare us ahead. And all of us in Africa, in the Caribbean, in Europe, we don't have a mind to sit around and say, but look, this system will not work for us. And white people have seen it. That's why you see poor white people are, when you saw the Black Lives Matter protest, it was not because a lot of white people came along, poor white people. It was not because these white people love, all of a sudden love black people. No, because the system had shoved them on the wall. They are victims of what we went through for 500 years, victims of poverty. So what we look at is our education is not over education, it's over miseducation. We have become the most inferior people. How can inferior people believe in it? Advance? We cannot go anywhere, Messiah. We have to keep in one position of being despised, belittled, because we don't respect. Who respects a man who doesn't respect himself? We're turning into clowns, for God's sake, Messiah. We've been, what are we talking about? When you look at us, Messiah, every day we're stalling behind the white man, and even the leaders, even the respected leaders. I see something changing in the US right now, because a lot of them are coming back to Africa. But when they come to Africa, they find the Africans are so brainwashed that they want to be white. A lot of them bleaching. You can't blame them. It's the education they're getting. They go to church and they say Jesus is white. The angels are white. The devil is black. So what do you expect them? These people are going to suffer from inferiority complex, and they're not going to go anywhere. When we get money, we go to Dubai. We go to Australia. We can never go to Africa. We can never go to Sri Lanka. Even the Sri Lankans, I don't think, in South Africa, South Africans don't believe they're in Africa. Majority of South Africans. It's education, sweetheart. That's it.
Wow. Well, listen, we could go on forever. And we said this was only going to be 20 minutes, Mr. Franklin. And we've gone all into your time. And we want to hear you tonight.
Well, I don't mind. I don't mind him taking up my time because I'm thoroughly enjoying this young man. And as I tell you, look, I am going tonight when I finish this show, I am going to play it back.
Wow.
I'm going to play him back. I'm not going to play back me. I know what I'm going to say, but I'm going to play his back. I want to hear it again. And again, I think it should be compulsory. What he is saying should be compulsory for every Black person in Barbados.
Yes. I don't know why I feel so emotional tonight.
Well, I am feeling emotional myself.
This is not what he's supposed to be gone already, because I told him only 20 minutes and then we are going to invite him back. But I think we can go on for another 5 minutes or so.
Yeah, I don't mind, Marcia. Let him take it because that time what he is saying is worthwhile and necessary.
The people will come for me. They will come for me and said, I don't give you enough time to speak.
No, Marcia, Caswell has opted to share. Yeah, and in all fairness, to be awake at 3 o'clock plus in the morning.
Yes,
to be with us is indeed an honor,
All right, so let's top it off with another 10 minutes.
Yes,
so let's finish at this segment at 8:15, and let's close it off at say 8:15, right? But Mr. Franklin, is there do you have any questions for SHERURA or any comment? And the people who are watching,
I am being educated right now and taking notes. I am not going to cut into his thing. Just deliver, because
I was saying that I have a comment then, if for him, or a question. Today we read in our newspaper, SHERURA, that we were borrowing another, I think is it $250 million from Britain? Can anybody help me with that? Where the minister in
this climate fund thing. I saw something to that effect.
It's coming from Britain, and it is like $250 million. And someone could correct me on that, but it's a lot of money. And once again, we're wondering why are we taking this money? It's either we're getting the money from China, we're getting the money from the IMF, or we're getting this loan, and these are all loans of very high interest rates. As a Pan-Africanist, what would you say to our leaders?
Monsieur, and I'll tell you, for students of Pan-Africans who might be out there, if you learn the problems facing communities of Black people, one thing you should put in your lessons is the loan scheme and the economics. And I told you, because we all subscribe to the Bretton Woods institutes, and these institutes are hooked up to the Federal Reserve. Federal Reserve is a system that serves white people. Of course, now the poor white people have been rejected again. They have come back to where they belong, in the poverty level where we are. So we're together right now, and they're bitter. The good thing, we're becoming the majority, but the other ones have power. So you see these Bretton Woods institutes and the European leaders, they get our leaders to borrow as much money as they can, because once you borrow a lot of money, you become a hostage of these institutes. There are even some countries which are almost being taken over by the Chinese and the and the Europeans and the IMF and the World Bank. And right now, in the country where I come from, in Uganda, the World Bank has banned us because we say we put up a law, and we say We don't accept homosexuality. We banned LGBTQ from our country. We say that's not the way of our people. So now the World Bank cannot lend to us. So you see our leaders, they're stuck. They have to do roads, they have to do railways, to do water. Of course, they collect revenue and we steal it. You see, capitalism is about stealing it. You see, the corruption is all over. I'm about to see people saying black people, this the biggest thief is a white man. See, corruption, it takes all this money. If you're in capitalism, you have to steal. Nobody's in, even, you see, even the church is complicit in robbery. You see, the church, when I steal as a politician, I go and pay my tithe in church. And the church don't ask me, where'd you get money from? No, the church is beneficiary. In the law, in the white man's law, the church is an accessory. So this is capitalism we're in. And I see my worry, Sister Messiah, and the people who are on the panel and the audience, is that we're going nowhere with capitalism. I think humanity is really headed nowhere because the more we become greedy and self-centered and individualistic like the white man, the more we die out. Because you see communities die out when they become individualistic. You're not, see, a society is built by, families. In the African perspective, the family builds a community, and the community builds an entire nation. So the capitalism is about individualism and greed. Now, when you talk about these governments borrowing, it's the same problem we are facing here in Africa. Same, borrowing every day, borrowing the other day. And when the money comes, it's misused, it's stolen. But as a student of Pan-Africanism, I know there's people, this is, you see, we have been independent for the last how many years? The African governments and most black nations around 50 to 60 years. These are young nations. The systems are still developing. It's a gradual process. But the biggest mistake we are doing is we are following up the system of the people that enslaved us. See the Chinese. Let me show you something here. The Chinese, after they were, brutalized by the British, after getting their independence, they said, whatever it takes, we're not going to follow the white man. They went the opposite way. And the white man now hates the Chinese. Oh, the white man hates the Chinese so much. Because you see, the Chinese has come out to be proud. Same with the Arabs. When you go to the Arabs, they wear their clothes, they speak their languages, they have their names, they love themselves. You see, it's not difficult to build a nation when people are proud. No. But when you have people who are inferior, you see, we're lynched in Libya, we're hanged in Cambodia, we are shot on the street like dogs in the US, in the streets in the US. In Europe, we're looked at like we're supposed to be cleaners. We're just, you see, when a man doesn't respect himself, nobody respects him. So this is very important. Now, I'm glad the picture is there on the screen. Now you see that picture. Look at those. These are my African leaders in Korea. Now look at it. The ones you see, the Arabs you see in that picture, most of them are not leaders. They're just prime ministers. No, they're just ministers. But the Africans, all the presidents are there. Look at them, black, in suits. None of the suits is made from their countries. They don't even speak their languages when they're on these platforms. They can never speak their languages. When you see these international conventions, the rest of the world, everyone speaks their language, save for only one race of the people. One race. One race doesn't have their names. They don't have their gods. They don't speak their languages. These people cannot advance, Messiah. We're not going anywhere. The only step forward for us is to go back and find the ways of our ancestors. We come from great people. These our people. I tell you, Messiah, our people knew astronomy without any gadgets. They knew everything. Our people were the most wise. I'm talking about wisdom. I'm not talking about intelligence. The white man had intelligence. Now, I would rather be wise. I would rather have wisdom over intelligence, because intelligence neighbors greed. See, intelligence is about outsmarting. Our system was about uplifting. We don't outsmart. We uplift one another. Thank you.
Wow. Now, listen, you. Can you put back up that picture there? Put back up that picture. It is very telling, Miss McLean, and Caswell. You know, Miss McLean, you're a former Minister of Foreign Affairs, and you know what he's talking about. If you look at this picture, when you think about it, right? This is the Korea Africa Summit, and everybody in suits. I think there is
You know,
more here.
Marcia, I look at that picture and I shake my head because I can tell you that if you took a picture of the General Assembly at the United Nations come September, it's around September, October, most African leaders wear their national dress. I see one female here and one on the other side and one in the middle who look like African representatives. And it is interesting because this is an unusual look for me because, as you said, for the 10 years that I spent in this kind of environment, this would not be typical. And it's strange that they would go in 2024. But, you know, I know that you're going to wrap up. So I just wrote a note here as I was listening to SHERURA speak. And as we talk about the challenges of our governments, our leaders, I wrote this and I wrote people's initiatives because at the end of the day, the kind of transformation, and I'm happy to tell you, SHERURA, I'm going to share some information with you that I'll send you a WhatsApp. But if there's something that I inherited from my grandfather, my father's father, he was a Pan-Africanist. And he actually invested in the Black Star Line of Marcus Garvey. So that's in my DNA. And so what we talk about is very real for me. But what I want, as I wrote here, can we explore engagement at the level of people to people? Because for us, the distance between our countries, even though we were able to do that transatlantic passage crossing, the distance has been reduced or eliminated by the internet and cyberspace. And we need to continue to explore, because I say continue because if you look at the work of Marcia, you would see what she has been doing to explore people to people engagement as we wait for our political leaders to do right by the people in Africa and the diaspora. So I think part of what we will do coming out of this is to continue to explore how we can engage each other, how we can use the technology to have our children and our children's children understand the importance of building or rebuilding the bridges that existed. Because I will end by saying that the African presence in this part of the hemisphere did not start with slavery. There's evidence that Africans traversed this region before slavery. And so I am so happy. That's why I'm smiling that we were able finally to make this happen. Marcia, thank you. SHERURA, I know we were back and forth. But as I pointed out, there's a lot happening in Barbados that we have to pay attention to. And you see how time disappears when we are having serious conversations. But thank you very much.
Yeah.
This is your first opportunity, and I really appreciate that. It's probably almost 4 o'clock in the morning. But thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much on behalf of all of us. We want to say thank you, SHERURA, for being with us this evening, and we're going to plan again for you, hoping you can join us next Friday. We would love that. We would love that. We're gonna talk. Thank you so much for being with us this evening. God bless you.
Thank you, my brother.
Oh wow, that was really, really refreshing. And I see Rose there getting ready. And I remember Rose had a session, Mr. Franklin, on education, and she was talking about how we we were educated before we even got here. And so as the gentleman was speaking, I was remembering her, and I'm remembering people like Lumumba Batson, who is always speaking about these kinds of things. And so among us, people from among us, and it's good to hear somebody else saying it. But we have people here who have been saying this, Nigel Newton, etc. But before, let's just close off this segment here. It's no time for Rose, but Mr. Franklin, we're going to try a way to squeeze you in there. But any comments you want to make, Mr. Franklin, about this session, just to close off before we go to Rose? Thank you, sir. You're muted.
Yeah, I think it was refreshing. It was different. And the thing is, I don't understand why he's so far away and know Barbados so well. Because he spoke about Barbados, He spoke about what we're experiencing. And I'm just hoping that people pay heed to what he's saying. I'm not asking them to get angry as a result of the things he's talking about. I just talking about learn from what he said and try to amend your ways. Look, I am a trade unionist, and what he was talking about, I was saying this man's a trade unionist, because he was urging black people to come together.
Yeah.
And I keep telling them all the time, you're only going to succeed if you stick together. But that's basically what he was saying.
Yeah.
We have white people trading with white people, and Indians trading with white people, and but we do not buy from black businesses. We have it is happening slowly, but we have an aversion to dealing with our own people.
Yeah.
But go into the Indian stores and you see them buying from each other. You go into the white stores and they buy from each other. Even during COVID, the white people got in the store and wait till before the stores open and got service, and then they didn't have a lineup. You know what I mean? Because they have regard for each other, not us, and we don't have any regard for us. Like I might say, bring it back soon.
Yes. I really hope so. Manase King, I love your comment. Manase says, I am enjoying this presentation. He has further reinforced how we have been colonized to be passive spectators in the socio-political process. And really and truly, that is what has happened to a lot of us here in Barbados and in the region. We have become passive, and it's a lot of it is to do with how we've been colonized and how we've been educated. Or miseducated, as he was saying. So tomorrow, Mr. Franklin, we have the march, and people. There are lots of persons who know that something is wrong, and they know that they need to come out, but for some reason we are choosing passivity when that we're hearing and we now understand that's not who we are. Passivity is not, to be passive is not, that's not in our DNA. That's not our DNA. They try to tell us that is who we are, but that's not who we are. And so tomorrow at 10 o'clock, Redman Drive to Independence Square. Come out, man. Let's get back to our true selves, who we really are, and stand up for the things that we believe in. Put on that courage. Stand up for the things that we believe in. Come out, Barbadians. I tell you that what they are telling us or who we are, that we are passive, I tell you, that's not us. It's what we are living, what they have told us. So let's break that cycle. The only way to break it is not just to think it, but step out and do something that you've never done before. You've never marched before. You've never protested before. Let this be the first time. Break out and do something different that you've never done before. That you say, well, I'm too educated for that. Sometimes you think that I'm a little too sophisticated for that. Could that be code for I'm a bit too passive for that? That's a thought right there. Let me see if Rose is ready. Rose, if you're ready, give me a thumbs up, please. I can't see. Is she ready? Rose is saying she's ready. Let's see. Good night, Miss Corbin. How are you?
I'm well, Marcia. Can you hear me?
Yes, we're hearing you loud and clear. It is a pleasure to have you here this evening. We only see the tip of your head. Okay, we're seeing you much better now. Yes, 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 yes. And I know you have a great presentation for us this evening. And we, your students, are ready to go. We are ready to go. So go right ahead.
Thank you very much. Hello, Maxine and Caswell.
Good
Good
night,
night to you
Rose.
also, Marcia. Good evening. Good evening, loyal sons and daughters, all firm craftsmen of her faith. I came in at the tail end of the presentation, but as you know, Marcia, I'm going to play at my leisure and my pleasure to bring me um, up to date with his presentation. Why I was delayed also, I took a ride up to Oystins to see what all the fuss was about, to see if I could find, is it $5 million that was spent. I did my own investigative research, and I'm still looking for the 5 million. I'm still looking to see um, why all the fuss and the politicizing of the relaunching of the gardens. And I was looking for so much more. All I could see is some red tents that if a strong wind, small kiosk-like tents, if a strong wind come off the Caribbean Sea, those tents are gone. They probably will take them down knowing that the hurricane season, we're in the hurricane season that goes up to the 31st of November. Y'all remember who said that? The 31st of November, the hurricane season. And I don't know if it red, we see lots of paint, but you know you can't get sponsorship for paint because remember the gallons of paint given away down by Kensington Oval. So I'm wondering if there was sponsorship for the paint that they used to paint up the benches. And I was looking to see if the bus terminal was paved. People still getting their shoes scratched up on the bus terminal. Persons won't be going up there from the World Cup. I don't know. I was looking for more shaded areas for the passengers who would be embarking and disembarking at that terminal. I didn't see anything like that. I still see sewage, garbage piling up by the collection point. I thought up there would have been in pristine condition. I was expecting so much given the excitement
Yes,
from the Minister of Culture when she launched it, and the committee responsible for the refurbishing of the Oceans Bay Garden. I was expecting to see $5 million. I have never seen $5 million yet. I believe the Lord will cause me to prosper, so I might still see some in my lifetime. But I wanted to see $5 million, given the fact that indeed by those in this government that so much was being spent on Oyster Bay Gardens. I was looking to see if we could see the neon lights. You know, I like lights, and I was looking for the neon lights, and I had to look backwards. We went into Massey, and as we drove out, I looked backwards, and you know that I only saw that lame fish, one fish hung up on the, that used to be lit up, and that poor
mhm.
fish only has one eye and no scales. And that's oysters. So one eye, and it wasn't even blinking, and no scales, no lights, no nothing. What happened to that $5 million? And you heard the Minister of Culture who denied that she had no interest in that constituency. but she used that opportunity at the relaunching and the rebranding of Oyston's Bay Garden to jab at Mr. Thorne and say, this is how we spent the money. And her people behind her saying much the same. So if my bright um, colleagues out there could show me, take me up and show me where and what where the $5 million are and what they look like, please. Now my session is the Ask for a King,
Oh my
and I'm
Lord.
linking
Yeah,
that,
and
Marcia.
you haven't touched your session yet. Oh my goodness. And you have about 11 minutes left. But go ahead.
I'm gonna get there. I'm getting there really
Yeah,
fast.
11
The
minutes. Go
Ask
ahead.
for a King, and I'm linking that. That comes from 1 Samuel chapter 8. Now, my brothers and sisters out there, I am not seeking to convert you. I am not seeking to weigh you down with scriptures, but I'm drawing an analogy to what's happening. Quickly, to give you the background, it's recorded in 1 Samuel chapter 8. When Samuel had grown old, the priest of Israel had grown old. He had, as the Bible had instructed, that they were instructed by Moses and the persons before him, that priests would come out of a family of priesthood. So his sons were appointed priests, but they were dishonest. They weren't managing well. Their lifestyles were contrary to what was prescribed for priests. And so the people went to old Samuel and said, look, your sons are disappointing. We don't want them to lead us. We want a king like the nations around us. And it grieved Samuel. And Samuel went to God and said, look, they're asking for a king. And they don't want a priest anymore. And he was very saddened by it and sad. And he was told by God, look, they're not hurting you, Samuel. Don't take it personally. They're rejecting me. Anyhow, you go back and tell them that if they want a king, they get a king. But let us share with them what that king will do to them. So quickly, I am going to read the warnings that were given. Do permit me quickly, Marcia, to give the warnings. And I want my people to stay with me to see if this doesn't apply to us. And this is what Samuel told them. Samuel told them, look, you want a king? This is what the king will do to you. This will be the manner of the king that shall reign over you. He will take your sons and appoint them for himself, for his chariots, and to be his horsemen, and some shall run before his chariots. And he will appoint him captains over thousands and captains over fifties, and will set them to ear his ground and to reap his harvest, and to make his instruments of war and instruments of his chariots. And he will take your daughters to be confectionaries, and to be cooks, and to be bakers. And he will take your fields and your vineyards and your olive yards, even the best of them, and give to his servants. Stay with me. Does this sound like Barbados, Marcia? And he will take your men servants and your maid servants and your goodliest young men and your asses, and put them to his work. And he will take the tenth of your sheep, and you shall be his servants. The tenth of your sheep, consider the tenth being our taxes, the VAT, the monies that we have to pay back to these loans that they keep borrowing and borrowing, and the debt they're putting us into. And he will take the tenth of your sheep, and you shall be his servants, and you shall cry out in that day because of your king, which you shall have chosen, and the Lord will not hear you. I don't, I believe the Lord is still hearing us, and there's still goodwill. But let us now transition, Marcia, to 2018, when this country adhered to the cry, gimme the vote and watch me. Now, unlike what happened with Samuel, the people went to Samuel and say, give me a king. In our instance, this person went to the people and said, put me there, give me a vote, watch me. And I did a quick analysis here. In 2018, 154,193 votes out of them, or voters, out of them, 153,738, 99.70% of these votes were valid. 455.30% were invalid or blank votes, or what we call spot votes. So out of the 153,738, 99.70%, 112,955 voters gave she the vote and said, "I watch you." And that was 73.47% of the voters give her the vote. The DLP only got 21.82%, 33,551. Solutions Barbados, of which I was a part, and for St. Philip North, contested St. Philip North, Solutions Barbados got only 2.45%, which was 3,772. UPP, 1,913 votes, 1.24%. The Barbados Integrity Movement, I am telling you, Marcia, and the listeners, that there were people in 2018 who did not bow or did not gishy the vote and watch her. We had the Barbados Integrity Movement, 340 of this group. They only got 0.22%. That group was led by Apostle Canterbury, who comes out with us. Then we had the Bajan Free Party, 107 votes, 0.07%. Kingdom Government of Barbados, 10 votes, 0.01%, and independents collectively received 1,009 votes, 0.66%. Now, I even looked at what the boastful MP for St. Peter, who didn't have to work hard because the people were responding to give me the vote, naturally responding to give me the vote and watch me. And he wrote into that constituency on the goodwill of the late Prime Minister of Owen Seymour Arthur. So he didn't have to work for that. See, so he shouldn't be so big-headed and boastful and arrogant. But the gap is closing. If we continue to put pressure, this will be wiped out from the slate. This thing of give me the vote and watch me. We also had our own Nigel Newton. If the listeners don't know, he contested the St. Philip North UPP, and he um, gained 92 votes, which was 1.6%. I gained 203 votes at very, very short notice, just about 2 or so weeks before election, and that was 3.40. Out of the voters, 40,702 did not defile their votes, did not issue the vote and watch her. And I take comfort in that here in Barbados, back in 2018, there were persons who were saying, we are not going to give her the vote and watch her. Now we've given her the vote, 2018, and quick so, without staying the full course of 5 years in the middle of COVID, another election was called. And this time it was Mia Cares. Mia Cares. And only 78,720 persons voted for the BLP. The DLP received 30,273 votes. And then the other parties, out of the 114,035 votes, 35,315 did not vote for the BLP. This will be all the other parties, the alliances, and the independents. And we note that just like how the children of Israel were forewarned about how the king would treat them, and the king did it, Barbados and the Barbadian public warned in 2018 by the same DLP that they sought to get out, by independents, by Solutions Barbados. I would say this is part of my political history. I went up in Church Village, St. Philip, and sat with the Bounty Pender's late brother in his shop, in the shop where the young men would congregate. And I took pamphlets up there, and I sat with the young men and educated them on the IMF, on what this Gimme the Vote and Watch Me Crusader had intended to do. If you remember, that was slid in all the fanfare and the frenzy. That was slid in that we might got to go to the IMF. That was an aside. When all the excitement from the social response, the march against the social responsibility levy, march that garnered thousands. And there was promise that they were going to do all these wonderful things. That was in July 2017, that Saturday, the 24th of July. And it was a heightened spirit. And there was no mention of IMF. It was slid in under the doors. And I remember the young men in IMF were adamant that when Mia comes into power, that things were going to automatically turn around and things were going to get better. And the IMF was going to give the money and, like in cash, like the 5 million I am still looking for up in Oistins, and that they would get money in their hands. That was what the young people out there thought. And if those dozen or more young people out sat and conversed with in that shop thought that it would be representative of the thinking of the youths who went out and voted for Gimme, Devote, and Watchman. And I am telling um, this particular audience that they are coming now with we care, no, we see, we feel, we hear. And they want that to be soaked into our psyche. Let resounding push back and shout back. No, you don't see. No, you don't feel. No, you don't hear. You cannot fool us. You fooled us, and we went out in our masses. And we are seeing, and yes, I noticed that the policy enforcer. I told those young
And Rose,
people,
just a minute, just hate to disturb, but we have 2 more minutes.
yes, please. I
Yes.
told the young people that the IMF does not operate in that way that was purported or the IMF comes, takes, and they dictate and they tell you what to do. My challenge tonight is to remember that we gave the vote and they did not and have not delivered on what they asked for the vote to do in 2018. In fact, it has worsened. And I don't know who gave that slogan, Mia Cares, for 2022, because we saw between 2018 and 2022 that the vote given was the promises were not kept for that vote. And I am seeing that do an analysis and see that there were people back in 2018 as well as in 2022, even in who did
Okay.
not
Okay.
give the
Rose is
vote.
stuck, right?
Don't you
Rose is
have the confidence, Marcia and Caswell and the listeners, that we can increase those numbers and we can get independence and other persons coming and pushing out some of those spuddlers that call themselves parliamentary representatives and who are part of the current government. So I am saying, remember, the Acts for a King, Gimme the Vote, and Watchman. And we are still waiting, we're still looking, and we're still anticipating, and nothing is happening. I hope that I can challenge you to value your vote and enable true democracy in this land that we love so much. Thank you, Marcia. Thank you.
yes. Oh, thank you, Rose. Another very informative. I was writing down the numbers as you were speaking. I'm hoping. Well, oh, we're playing. Is it playing? I can't hear it. I can't hear. We're just doing the movement. Okay, I think it's do a play. Let's play it. I think it's very applicable. Very applicable, Dave. Go ahead and play it. There's no volume. Nobody was hearing anything.
Yeah, we're hearing you now, though.
You're hearing now, but when you played it, there was no volume to it, no audio. The people are saying no audio. Yeah, so we're waiting on our next guest. Thank you, Tyrone and Peter, and yes, Tyrone knows we realized that there was no audio. But Caswell, you were hearing what Mrs. Corbin was saying about this. You know, they asked her a king and give me the vote and watch me. And she was saying that only 78,000 people voted for the BLP the last time around. What are your thoughts about that while we wait on our next guest?
We see, we feel, we hear, but we are not going to do anything about it. We only pretend to care. That you got to finish off their slogan. Marcia, the poll, the last election, 2022, was the lowest we've ever had in my lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
I might have had lower ones, but that would have been prior to adult suffrage. We only had people who had land or earned a certain amount of money when the month come. And that should be telling. So, yes, they got the majority of the seats, but that should have been a wake-up call for the Barbados Labour Party. They say they have lost so much popularity. A lot of people did not turn out. Unfortunately, the opposition was too divided. They had too many opposition parties, too many people competing for, and you will lose. But let's say the Barbados Labour Party they have 45% of the vote. You will not win with 45%, but the remaining 55 will be divided among those 6 or 8 parties that run in there, and so nobody will get 55%. And I think that was the problem with the thing. We have to get together and stop this. Everybody wants to be a king, but nobody wants to be a prince mentality that we have with all those parties. And the thing is, you will see a person who ran, lost election, loses deposit. The next election, you come back and run again, and he loses deposit again. You think you come back, you think again. You know, what has changed? You're doing the same thing over and over. What we need to do is do something differently to stop this abuse that we have subjected ourselves to. You know, because the young man who spoke earlier, I can't get the name pronounced right now, but he talking about the miseducation. And that is what has happened. You know, these people, rather than we elect leaders to lead us, we elect leaders to mimic the people overseas. You know, they want to mimic Westminster, and they only do this. Right now, our parliament seems to be a parody of Westminster. Mind you, Westminster is not nothing to be jumping about. No, because they're a right mess. They lie to each other. You hear all the time. So we're copying everything they do. So unfortunately, we will unless we get up and try to make a difference and do something differently, we will be saddled with these people. And I do not want to. In my last few years on this planet, I do not want those people around me destroying this place. I want to live happily with the remainder of my time.
Yeah. Kami Holder says, I have said publicly, said I march with the BLP against the DLP, but the BLP, well, as Mr. Franklin said, that it wasn't really the BLP. You were marching with all of those merchants, right? Anyway, against the DLP, but the BLP have floated overwhelmingly. Have floated the overwhelming mandate with gay abandon and a callousness never before seen in local politics. And
yes, when he said gay abandon, exactly that. Gay abandon.
Yeah. But Jesus. What I wanna say is that I know that today I'm not seeing my guest anymore. Okay, so I don't understand. I'm sorry. When when I saw today that they were borrowing again, I said, "Oh my goodness, I cannot believe this. What are we doing here? What is it that we're doing here? It's just amazing. I see my guest is here. Let me see if he's still here because he dropped out as I was ready to call to sign him in. We got mixed up with the time. Good night, Mr. Lloyd Daguilar.
Good night to you and your guests.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Good to
Right.
be here.
I saw you earlier. You came in and quickly got out. I don't know if you dropped out, but it's good to have you on tonight for a few minutes. So just on for a few minutes, just checking in to see what's happening in Jamaica. Now we have a march planned for tomorrow, a protest march. And I know we were talking earlier this week, and I was really shocked when you told me that in Jamaica, that I'm not sure how long ago. You can tell us the story of how you were arrested for what you thought was a peaceful protest. So can you tell us a bit about that? You are from the Alliance for the People's Anti-Corruption Movement. I'm sorry. This is Lloyd Daguilar from the People's Anti-Corruption Movement. Yes, sir.
Okay, so last October, the People's Anti-Corruption Movement decided that we would have a placard protest in front of Jamaica House. And so we wrote up a few placards and so on. And two of us assembled across the road from Jamaica House, just two of us, myself and a lady. And we had some placards against the fence on the opposite side, and we were there. Nobody else, just two of us. And when we got there, we realized that the police were already there, and I guess they were expecting us. And they probably thought we were going to have a big march or something like that. If we were going to have a big march, we would have applied for a permit to march, because I've been involved in public marches before, and I know in order to do that you need a permit. But we weren't going to be having a march. We're just going to stand there and hold up some placards, one against the corruption that exists in the country, two against the government not standing up against the start of what Israel is now doing to the people in Gaza, the genocide that has been committed. And we want to bring to people's attention as well that the government, rather than using the law to address Haitian refugees who are coming to Jamaica, they were just putting them back in a boat and carrying them back to Haiti. And they were not giving them their right to due process and so on and so forth. So we wanted to bring those three issues to the people and to begin to try and build a movement. In no time, the police came and told us that we had to move. So I tried to have a discussion with them. I said we didn't need a permit to be here. We are exercising our constitutional right to freedom of expression. We are having a peaceful placard protest, and so we have a right to freedom of movement and expression, etc. But they came there to prevent anybody from standing near Jamaica House with a placard. And so myself and the other person were arrested, and we were taken to the nearby police station. We were held there for hours before we were finally given station bail. Now, that was last year, October. We have been back to the courts about 3 times since, okay, for preliminary hearings. And we went there on Tuesday of this week for the trial. My co-defendant was not able to be there. And the judge refused to respond to my motion of dismissal because we are claiming that it was a false arrest and it wasn't a legal arrest. And he said, no, I can't consider your motion because it will make me independent, make me dependent or not independent. This is what the judge said. So I said, Your Honor, aren't you the one who makes a decision? So how can you be saying that it will not make you independent if you consider my motion for dismissal? Anyway, the point is that they set a trial date for October, and that will be 1 year since we were arrested. Now, can you imagine? We have a right to due process, speedy trial, etc. And this is a very minor charge, but it is a political charge because what they don't want is a public movement to develop. And so they want to frustrate us and prevent us from doing what we try to do. Let me just say one more thing, which is that we are agitating against the genocide which is being committed in Gaza by Israel. We are calling upon the government to end diplomatic relations with Israel. And we are calling upon the government to be explicit and denounce the genocide which is being committed. And we are also against the fact that Canada is here in Jamaica training Jamaican soldiers, soldiers from Bahamas and Belize, because they want to send them to Haiti to solve the problems in Haiti. And we are saying, just like what happened in Kenya, sending Jamaican soldiers to Haiti is unconstitutional. And also, the solution to the problem in Haiti is not to send military people there. And now they want black soldiers to go there so that America can be accused of racism. And so they are conveniently using black soldiers to go there. And we're saying that is not the solution to the problem in Haiti. It is unconstitutional. And we need to have a dialogue amongst the Haitian people and have a solution. And it is not gangs that are fighting against the government. It is the people who are fighting against a corrupt government and trying to overthrow a government. But every time they talk about what is happening in Haiti, they use the word gangs so that people will, look down on what is happening. It's not gangs. It's the people who have decided that they don't want this corrupt government, this oppressive system.
Yeah. I know that when I told you that Barbados was also scheduled to be in Haiti, you didn't believe because that's not in the report that you're getting, right?
Exactly. You educated me because I did not know that Barbados is part of this agreement among the Caribbean to send soldiers to Haiti. I mean, as far as I'm aware, there are no Barbadian soldiers being trained at the Jamaica Defense Force headquarters now. But maybe Barbados has an arrangement, an agreement that is not made as public as the Jamaica one is made public. But any form of sending Caribbean soldiers to Haiti, we are against it because that is not the solution to the problem. And that's the people rose up against the previous prime minister who had to resign. And he has resigned and they set up a temporary government. There's no talk about any elections to elect a new government. There's no talk about the people sitting down with the gangs to discuss what is going on. They want to get soldiers and police to come there to fight against those who want to see change take place and commit more, crimes against humanity. That is what that is all about.
Yes. Mr. Franklin, do you know where the soldiers, the Barbadian soldiers, are being trained? I know that, we're part of it. The Barbados is listed as one of the countries that will be sending soldiers.
I have no idea. I know that there were trainings. I don't know if they were being trained locally, but I'm grieving for them already because they're not going to survive if they go down there with their foolishness.
Yeah.
You
You
said
know,
you're
our soldiers are parade soldiers. You know, we are not the real deal. And you go down there. There, some of them have never. The only blood they've ever seen is somebody cut the finger. You know, they're going. Trust me, Marcia. I don't want to. But like business, I wash my mouth on them, but they're not. A lot of them can be coming back.
Well,
yeah.
let me just say something about the unconstitutional nature as far as Jamaica is concerned. Now, I don't know what it's like in Barbados, but in Jamaica, the Jamaica Defense Force is not mentioned in the Constitution, right? The Army is not mentioned. And of course, the Army is a creation of our colonial master Britain. They are the ones that created the army in the first place, and it was specifically stated to be connected to the British, military system. So there is a special agency that has been created to monitor the defense force. But as I said before, it's not in the Constitution. And even the Defense Board that they created to monitor doesn't talk about sending soldiers abroad. Now, in the American Constitution, it says very explicitly that Congress shall have the right to deploy soldiers abroad, etc., etc. That's in the American Constitution. And if you compare that with the Jamaican Constitution, it does not say that. All it does is give the board, the defense board, the right to, send soldiers, but it doesn't say we're sending them for a war or whatever it is, So we believe that that is a legal basis upon which the constitutionality of sending soldiers to Haiti can be challenged, just as the Kenyans are doing in their challenge in the court system.
Yeah, yeah. Back to your arrest there in Jamaica, your process. I just before you go, I wanted to. Did you apply for a permit in order to protest?
No, as I said before, we weren't having a street march, and we were not having what they call a public meeting, which is what the Public Order Act says, that in order to have a street march and to have a public meeting, which means that you're going to have a sound system and, and lots of people and so on and so forth. We knew that we were just going to have a handful of people, and we weren't marching. We're just going to stand up and hold a placard. I have been in marches before. I know where that is concerned. And I will just say also that 2 years ago, the United Independent Congress had a march downtown against the forced vaccination that was going on. They didn't have a permit, and so yes, the leader of the march was arrested because they were on the street. It was hundreds of them, etc. So you could argue that there was a legal basis for that, but we were 2 people as opposed to several hundred people marching. And I will also say that when the police finally told us to disperse and we were walking away, the police took out their pepper spray and pepper sprayed us. I, in particular, was affected because I went there as a videographer taking videos and so on. And so I was at the back walking away using my camera, and I was affected by the video. By the pepper spray. Yeah, I was affected by it, and this was illegal. This was illegal because we weren't offering any resistance to the security forces. We weren't resisting arrest. We were complying with their orders, and that is what they did. So the Jamaica police is one of the most oppressive police forces in the Caribbean, and they engage in extrajudicial killings as well. Jamaica has one of the highest police extrajudicial killing rates in the world, not just in the Caribbean, in the world. And Human Rights Watch, even the U.S. State Department have, taken note and commented on that kind of thing. And so we have a serious problem, human rights problem, where the security forces are concerned in this country. And it is a policy of state. You will hear the minister say, boy, gangs, and we're going to come after one if we don't, turn yourself in. And then guess what? By the next day, you will hear that the soldiers or the police went into this community or that community, and they shot and killed 4 men, 5 men. They go in there at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning when they know people are sleeping. So there will be no resistance. But then they always claim that it was a shootout. We're not fooled by that. We're not fooled.
Yeah, but thank you so much. And one of the reasons that I asked the question, because I am curious in comparing the Public Order Act of Jamaica to Barbados, because in Barbados, once you are on the road and if you're going to get a placard or anything like that, you must get a permit. And that's a difference between, that's one of the differences between the Public Order Act and that of Barbados. We, again, here in Barbados, we would not be allowed to stand in front of Jamaica House if we had a Jamaica House. You have to be at least 200 yards away. That is what the Public Order Act says. At least 200 yards away. And I remember when I was out there doing my personal protest with my one placard, I had to get a permit, sir. And I could not stand in front of the Minister of Education. I had to be 200 yards, and the police went and measured it.
But let me ask you a question. Let me just say something. The Public Order Act in Jamaica is a colonial law. It came up before 1962 when Jamaica got independence. I would like to ask you, when was the Public Order Act formulated in Barbados? Do you know?
1970.
Oh, 1970. You're already independent. Okay.
Yeah, you remember the Black Power marches and during the Caribbean, totally Caribbean and that lot. Barbados leaders got scared and they wanted to have some sort of legislation to control them. And they even amended the Immigration Act back in 1975 as well, so that give the minister power to put people out of Barbados that they didn't have before. So we wanted to make sure that Barbados didn't have those marches and those Black Power movements. So that Public Order Act came into place back then.
And I think you should challenge that, because I'm sure your constitution gives you the right to freedom of movement and freedom of expression. I know in Jamaica they have what they call scheduled premises, so they can tell you the Prime Minister's office or a ministry of this or that is a scheduled premise. But I don't believe that overrides your right to stand up in front of any ministry. If it's just 1 or 2 or 3 of you, I believe that you have the right, because the Constitution gives you that right.
It does. However, the Public Order Act says that you can't do that. You can't do that.
Right.
And that's what the police has explained. I contacted a lawyer, and that's what the lawyer explained to me as well. That you can't, because there are people who are saying, why don't we go in front of the Parliament and do a protest there, get some placards and so on. And as far as what I understand and what I've been told by the police and a lawyer, that is not permitted in the Public Order Act. You have to be at least 200 yards away from those scheduled places, as you call it, or official government entities.
But the question is, though, right? There's a parliament and ministry, whatever. As an individual, you can walk past it, right? So
you can walk past it.
Yeah, suppose you had on a shirt which says "Down with so and so and so." Are they going to arrest you because you need a permit to do that? Listen, in the United States, there have been lots and lots of protests against what's going on in Gaza and so on. And I see thousands of people gathered in front of the White House. So can you imagine that you're able to gather in front of the White House, but you can't gather in front of Jamaica House or Barbados House, whatever you call it there? That is so ridiculous. And I believe that even if it is law, it is an oppressive law. And I believe that you have a right to challenge it. And you should take that as part of your public education, agitation, and so on. It's not right. What they're trying to do is to suppress the people from being able to express themselves. No, I'll tell you, if you want to march in downtown Kingston here near the parliament, they will, make you have to march 200 yards or whatever it is away, just like they're saying in Barbados and so on. And we would have expected that if we had been marching near Jamaica House, they would have told us to go, because I've done that before and they direct us. But as I said before, this was not a march and this was not a public meeting. So the rules are different, or what is expected is different from a march or so. But in your case, under any circumstances, you can't be near the parliament. So
No, and we have the most draconian public order act. I have been checking on Bahamas, Saint Vincent, and Jamaica, and so far Barbados is it's just the most oppressive. Barbados is the most oppressive public order act.
Yes, it sounds that way to me. It sounds that way.
Yeah. Well, you know what? We're happy that we can call you from time to time, and I
Okay.
thought it was interesting just to hear from you about what happened to you and the person you were protesting with. And on that note, I want to thank you for being with us as we have a march tomorrow, actually. Lloyd, it's coming off at 10 a.m., which we have our permit for. And it's Redman Drive to Independence Square. And what we are protesting is against the cybercrime bill. And this cybercrime bill, I mean, really, I don't know what they would do in Jamaica, because I'm going to put up the image here on the screen, and if you can see this image on the screen, it says that per section 20 of the cybercrime bill, if you have a post or anything on the computer that is considered annoyance, inconvenience, embarrassment, insult, humiliation, anxiety, emotional distress, just some of the adjectives there, right? If any those are not adjectives. Anything that you might have, if it caused anything that caused annoyance or inconvenience or embarrassment, insult, humiliation, anxiety, emotional distress, you could be fined $70,000 or 7 years in prison.
That is outrageous. That is absolutely outrageous. And, I wish you all the best tomorrow. And I believe that you really need to agitate against this and educate the people and organize the people against that. That is ridiculous. And that means you have no freedom of expression in Barbados, and they're using cybercrime against freedom of expression, which I'm sure is in the Constitution there. So that is outrageous. And yes, you should use that as a basis to expose the shortcomings of the so-called democracy that exists in Barbados. And I wish you a lot of success. And I, in Jamaica, will now begin to talk about the experience, that experience that you're having in Barbados. So thanks for educating me. I'm
We
going to do
need
that.
you to, because we realize a lot of people throughout the Caribbean, they are putting on a love fest as it relates to this prime minister. I mean, our bar association, this is a bar association of Barbados. This is what they're saying, that the Law Reform and Legislation Committee of the Bar Association, they sent a report to the Joint Select Committee of Parliament. And the committee concludes that the level of debate and interrogation of this bill to date has been inadequate, given the very serious power which is being vested in the state and in private individuals in matters protected by the Constitution, that is to say, the rights to privacy and expression. And the Bar Association is also saying, unless amended, the bill will inevitably face challenge in the courts. And
Right.
this is a bill that they are seeking to get passed in what, in 6 days, right?
So
This is
the,
the bill, yeah.
so the point is that the bill has not been passed yet, but it is before Parliament to be passed. Is that
Well, it went to Parliament already, and it's in the Senate right now, and they have it in this in this committee that people submitted there, because we had the marches and through the show, then they had to stop, but they were going full stream ahead because we barely had any opposition when it was happening. There was no opposition. It was 30 seats. Now we have someone who's crossed the floor, and we have this show and other shows, and people are speaking up. So they had to pull it back a little bit and said, let us discuss. But then they're ready to go ahead in the middle of World Cup. You see?
so you really have almost no official opposition in Barbados then, is that it?
Well, we have Mr. Thorne, who was he was a part of the BLP government, and he decided to cross the floor. So we have one member of parliament.
So you have one member of Parliament that is in opposition?
Yes.
Wow, that is outrageous. That you have a dictatorship there. That is an official dictatorship. Even if the government was elected, it doesn't matter. That is an official dictatorship that exists, and they can do anything they want to do. And if the people, don't challenge them, then it means that they will do anything to upset your constitutional rights, etc., etc. This is really, really an eye opener in terms of how parliamentary elections are held. We need direct democracy. In other words, if there is no opposition in the parliament, the people should be able to go to the parliament and stand up in front of the prime minister and whoever else and say, we don't agree with that, we don't believe in that. There should be a rule that allows the people to come before Parliament and make their presentation. I am sure that if the King of England came to Barbados, they would allow him to come into Parliament and give a speech and so on and so forth. But the people don't have those kind of privileges. They would not be able to come inside the Parliament and address the Parliament and say, no, 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 we are not going down that road. So we have to make a distinction between direct and indirect democracy. What we have in all of these countries is indirect democracy. They have an election every 5 years, and then you don't see the politicians again until election time. In Jamaica, that's how it works. You don't see them. You elect them, and you don't see them again until 5 years when there's another election, and they come around and give you $5,000 or $1,000 and so on and so forth. So it's corruption. That's how the corrupt system works. So you need to stand up.
But Mr. Daguilar, and I know Caswell wants to jump in there and say something, but I want to say to you that I see how shocked you are when we're telling you what has happened. And this is sometimes when I'm trying to even tell my family in Jamaica, they're not computing what I'm saying to them. They're not understanding, and honestly, it feels frustrating because you're trying to explain to them this is the situation in which I live. This is what is going on. They're not hearing me. And because they can't imagine it. So I want you to think about if this kind of bill, this kind of law was coming to Jamaica. Let me put it back up on the screen. I see Kimar is there. Let me just put this back up the screen. If this was coming to Jamaica, I wanted to think about it, Mr. Douglas. How would Jamaicans respond to this? Let me hear Mr. Franklin before you respond. Mr. Franklin, do you see how shocked Lloyd is about what's happening in Barbados? You're muted, sir.
His shock is a feeling of our communication system that we have in the Caribbean. We know everything that's happening in Europe. We know everything that Trump says. We know everything that people in England talk about. We know all over the world, but we do not know anything that happens in Jamaica. We do not know anything that happens in St. Lucia. Just 30 minutes by plane. But we don't know anything. So that is the problem that we have. So when the Prime Minister goes down to Jamaica and she everybody think that she's the greatest thing that Barbados has ever produced, and I'm shocked when I hear them, because they just listen to the propaganda that is spewed out when these people travel. They don't know about our suffering, because it is not news. As a matter of fact, I have taken to reading online a lot of the things in the paper, and until we get more coverage from Virgin Islands than we get from St. Lucia, St. Vincent, Dominica, Jamaica, anything else. And mind you, and they only go the Virgin Islands thing. They only go for sensational things. We don't know anything about each other, and deliberately so, I believe.
Yeah, and but let me ask Lloyd, because we only have Lloyd. We have 2 minutes. Because Kimar is here beyond at 9:25. So tell me, what do you think Jamaicans would say? What would happen?
Well,
For example, an organization like yours, what would you do if something
let
like
me
this?
just put it quickly, because we have an opposition, a parliamentary opposition. I believe that based upon this bill that you just showed me, the summary of it and so on, I believe that they would challenge it. They would challenge it because they realize that the people would be opposed to something like that, and they could get political mileage out of it. I doubt very much that both sides would be in agreement with a bill like that, and it would be challenged. But if for some reason the opposition doesn't challenge it, then the People's Anti-Corruption Movement would be organizing street protests, and doing whatever we can on social media to oppose that kind of thing. As much as Jamaica has deficiencies in its parliamentary system and democratic system, I doubt very much that the government could just get away with the bill that you're now putting before us in terms of what it intends to do. I believe that there would be a serious challenge to something like that. And I commend
so
you.
why doesn't Jamaica, I'm deliberately cutting you off because I want you to go away and think about this. I don't have much time. Why can't Jamaica go and talk to the people in Jamaica and help them and help us? I'm Jamaican born in Jamaica, and I'm telling you, this is irking me. And when I try to explain to Jamaicans, they're not understanding me.
Well, I thank you for educating me about this, and I definitely will be putting it on the agenda in terms of my organization to let people know what is happening in Barbados. And as I was, we were having a discussion before, and we were talking about CARICOM, and this CARICOM thing is also not a real organization, because there is no access by the people into the CARICOM so that we can discuss issues like what is happening in Barbados. It's just a talking. Yeah, so we need to talk, we need to discuss that as well. So your government don't come and say, boy, we are part of CARICOM and make CARICOM seem so wonderful. CARICOM is deficient, and all CARICOM does is to facilitate things like what is happening in Barbados, what is happening about in Jamaica, with the way Haitians are treated and the way corruption exists in all the countries in the Caribbean. So we have to begin to make our voices be heard and challenge and expose these institutions that are getting millions of dollars and doing nothing for the people.
For the people. Thank you so much, Lloyd. And I'm going to send you as much information as possible. There's another big show there, Andre Stevens, and I wish I could get hold of him because he's always, I hear him, they're always complimenting Miss Motley and don't realize that we are living in an oppressive country. We are living in an oppressive country, and people in the Caribbean, they're not paying any mind to us. And it's very upsetting. But thank you so much, Lloyd, for joining us this evening. God bless you.
Thank you very much for having me. All the best to you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. You know, Mr. Franklin, that's what I live with when I try to speak to Jamaicans. They're telling me because they've drunk the Kool-Aid about Miss Motley, and they don't want to believe. Somehow it's hard for them to accept it. That this is what. First of all, it seems very outlandish. When I send Jamaicans to say like, "Hi, are you sure there might be something missing?" They don't believe that it could ever be. You know. Oh, Kimar is here. Go ahead, Mr. Franklin. You had something to say?
No, that was just saying that's the propaganda, and they know it, you know. And unfortunately, like I was saying just now, we don't know anything about each other. We were never encouraged to mix, you know. And as I remember when I was a little boy, we had a few solutions, a few Vincentians here, and they always tried. They just wanted to come and cut the cans and run back home. And if they didn't do that, you used to see the police in those days. Used to be police officers just chasing them down, and they want. That is why the Federation failed, because it was a top-down thing rather than coming from the people. And that's the problem. We don't want the people to mix. Yeah. We don't want the people to hear from each other. We want them to just go by what the leaders are saying, and the leaders don't usually tell the truth.
Yes. Wow. Oh my God, so much. Kimar, good night. Good to see you. How are you? Good night, Kimar. Can you hear me? Not hearing. Kimar, good night. Okay. Tomorrow, Mr. Franklin, we have the march tomorrow. And hello, Kimar.
Yes, can you hear me well?
Yeah, we're hearing you.
Yes, we're hearing you. We're hearing you. Yes, we're saying welcome and good night. And I was just telling the people about the march that we have tomorrow, because after tomorrow is the 8th, and they said it's by the 14th that they're going back at this bill in the middle of World Cup. And so we're going to be out there with Richard Antonio on the truck singing the guard, and we're going to be going down the road. That's what I was telling them when we couldn't hear you. But good night. How are you doing?
Yeah, well, I am good. I try to be at most things. I am glad to be on the show. Glad to see you, glad to see Kat as well, and glad to see all of the members of the loyal opposition. So good night to the viewers to the March TV show tonight. Whoa.
Yeah, what's on your mind tonight? Hello?
Yes. You hear me? Cause
yeah, you dropped it again.
Yeah. What's on your mind tonight?
Okay. Yes. Well, like I said, just good night again to the people tuning into the show. I had many things to say. You know, I've not been here as regular as I would love to be. So we had a piling up issues in the back. But I want to start in the community, as my focus is always on the people. But before I get into that, I just want to uh, go back to the day that we had Philippa Davis on the show, when we would have been discussing with her Jamaican politics, and it actually came around to be true, where we discussed that
So we're not hearing you now. Not hearing you. I don't know if you can hear us, but we're not hearing you.
yes, you hear me now?
Yeah, we
Yes.
hear you now.
Yeah.
Wait, when Philippa Davis, the attorney from Jamaica,
Davies.
came on the show, yes, you remember we would have discussed the case of Vibes Cartel, and how after that case, depending on the ruling of the case, then we will see the different political parties jostling to make the CCJ the final court of appeal. And we pinpointed the PNP, which is the party that our Prime Minister supports in Jamaica, that they would have been the ones who are pushing for that. And that is what is happening in Jamaica right now, right? So it was very interesting to hear the gentleman that you had previously speaking about Jamaican politics, and I usually follow up on it a lot because I still have a lot of Jamaican contacts from when it was at KFL. But we could discuss that in that another session.
Yeah.
What I really wanted to talk to you about tonight is about an issue of squatting, and the fact that last week Thursday we had what they call the St. John Speaks. You know, those parish speaks thing where the Prime Minister would go all around and have a town hall still. We had St. John Speaks last week, right? And a resident quarter of St. John, his name is Mariko Morris. He got up at the microphone and asked the Prime Minister about an issue that we would have raised on the show and would have raised at Roadside Parliament.
Right.
When we would have been criticizing an issue of those people who were squatting at Welch, Barflan, and St. John, and the fact that those people there were promised land and they were told that they were owners of the land that they were squatting on, right? There was a picture going around on the internet with the representative for St. John, Mr. Charles Griffith, holding up a letter, and it was basically insinuating that this specific letter would have been the ownership deed to the property, and therefore you had those people at Welch Powerfland believing that they own land, right? And this is government land, by the way, right? So it is situated under the Tenantry Freehold Purchase Act, right? So there's the picture. So those people, and this was since December of 2019, right? So the letter that the lady is holding here, this letter is just a letter telling you that you live on lot 21, 22, 23, number 1, number 4. You live on this specific lot, and you can buy the land from the government of Barbados under the Tenantry Freehold Purchase Act at X amount of dollars.
Right.
Right. No more than probably $800. So depending on the size of the plot of land. But remember, these people are squatters. Right. So this letter here, I spoke to all of these people who had these letters, and they believe that they own the property that they were on. Right. But it was just a letter offering them to buy it,
Right.
right? So this was since December 2000. So this representative for St. John here said in a video standing at Pot House in St. John, this is the same road that I would have criticized them on, where they got two different loans on it and the road is still not done. This is the road that they built without any drains in it, right? This after the Prime Minister stood at Pot House and told them that the road can't be built without drains and they're going to do the whole road, and that the Chinese are funding them money from the under the Scotland District Rehabilitation Program, and half of the road is not even want to call it done. They did some revamping on the road and they put back down a road without drains, and everybody in Pot House, their houses wash out everything the rain fall. Because the government went ahead and put a road down without drains. But that is not the important part here. The important part is that the representative stood at Pot House and told those people, right, that they are going to have the title deeds and the conveyances to these properties once they start paying. I have copies of people who had receipts from January 2020 that went in and paid money, and the excuse after they paid money was that the conveyances were not complete. Right? So it took them from January 2020 to June 2024 to do a conveyance that could be done in 10 minutes. Right? And we went there, Marjorie raised this issue on Roadside Parliament. We spoke about it when we were at God Hill in St. John. Right? And after all of this time, they came back and they promised the people again. Right? This time the Prime Minister, they promised them again that they would have the conveyances ready so that the people who were squatting at the land at Welch and St. John could then have it. So if you took, right, if you told those people in December that the conveyances are going to be ready and they're going to have a ceremony, and from January 2020, people are filing into national housing and paying money, and all they have are just a simple government receipt. Right? A simple receipt, and the excuse was that the conveyances are not ready. It can't take you that long to do a couple of conveyances, 30 conveyances. Right? And the fact that Charles Griffith was also the Minister of Housing and Lands, right? And we highlighted that when we discussed the whole project thoroughly. Yeah. That he was the Minister of Housing and Lands, and this is something that could have been done in a day. Right? So I personally visited those people, not all of them, but I spoke to a couple of them, and I explained to them that they really don't own the land.
Wow.
Right. So that particular instance where the representative went in to that community and gave those people that, he left those people with the impression that they own the plots that they were on. Right? And that receipt, they cannot do anything with it. They still couldn't go to the bank and borrow any money. They still didn't have their names on any title deeds to say that they own any lands. Right? So those people were left in limbo all of that time. And again, we have a scenario where they're being promised, this time by the Prime Minister, that the conveyance will be ready and that they could then go on to own this land at St. John. Right?
Yeah, okay. So she has made this promise to them that they will finally receive their land deeds.
Yeah.
Kimberly, I want to ask you a question though, because I am a bit concerned. You know, that you said, and I've heard it said by them, that this is tenantry land under the Tenantry for Purchase Act. Which plantation owned the land that they were on before?
Bath Plantation. Bath Plantation.
Bath?
Yeah.
Well, good. If it's Bath Plantation, it is tenantry land under the Tenantry Freehold Purchase Act. It is 10 cents a square foot land. If there were tenants, and it does come because they're calling them squatters. I do not understand if they're squatters or they're tenants of the plantation. Because if I'm a tenant and you don't come and collect the rent from me, that does not make me a squatter. It just means that you're negligent come and collect your rent.
But what is strange here is that some people have offer letters offering them to purchase land, as some others have offer letters offering them to rent land. So the one of the offer letters actually attempted to regularize some of the people that live in there, that their status will become a tenant on the land that they're on, and therefore they will be owing the government X amount in rent.
No, because
Moving forward.
you have to have been on that land for 5 years. If you're on that land for 5 years, then you have your right under the law to purchase it. If it is plantation land, that's why I ask you if it was a plantation. Because the plantations in St. John, like the land should have been sold. The good few, there's Ashford, Bath, below Cliff, Bormiston, Ashford Plantation, Bormiston, Plantation, Carthage, Cherry Grove, Bormiston Plantation, Cherry Grove, which is Todd's Plantation, Clearbury, Clifton, Clifton Hall, Court Hill, Cottington College, Colleton, Eastmont, Easy Hall, Edgecliff, Featherbed Lane, Cleveland, Guinea, Hackleton Cliff, Henley, Huddlesville, Kendall, Lemon Arbor, Malvern, Palmer's, Pool Risk, Port House, Small Hope, Society, Todd Venture, and Wakefield. All of these lands are 10 cents a square foot land. And I hear the government is wanting to sell them at $2.50 and that kind of thing. That is not the law. It's 10 cents. Ask Tom Adams.
That is not the price being offered to those people.
So I think they're being deceived by government, but I know they're being deceived, but they're being deceived even more so than they realize.
Wow.
Yes, but it's very interesting to note because we spoke on the show about the condition of that part of the world,
Yeah.
and I've been spending a lot of time uh getting to know exactly what's happening. These people are being treated so poorly, right? That the state of the road down there, we put that on the show. We showed vehicles trying
Yeah.
to get down the road in and out, right? I didn't show you all like the top of the road where there's a big elaborate tree hanging over the road and the road is actually broken in half and people have to come in and out of that. Garbage trucks have to come in and out of that, and people have to walk at least a half a mile sometimes just to get old people, right? And this is my thing. You have governments coming into the countryside and basically trying to rob the people out of their existence, because I am hearing and I am seeing that all along the east coast of Barbados, people are having challenges with private investors and the government trying to take over the land. We even have an instance where a landowner in St. John believed that they own the land right out to the rocks in the sea,
Mm.
right? We had an instance recently where we had to pay a visit to a part of St. John, and the people are saying that their land deeds show them that they own out to the rock in the sea.
What is this government doing? I mean, wouldn't this be under the same planning and development? Am I right in thinking that?
Yep.
Yes, they say that they got approval and everything from town and country planning.
To
Right?
own up to the rocks into the sea?
Yep, and they showed you the rocks that they own too.
What time this has something I mean I hear tonight though at this hour 9:46. People, are you hearing this? St. John, people in St. John, do you know about this? Whereabouts is this, Kimar? Can you describe?
Well, because of the nature of what's happening, I don't want to put
Yes, to do that.
all of the thing because you don't want to prejudice, situations. But
Right.
it is a situation brewing where, and I blame some one or two attorneys here where people need to advise people who are buying, especially beach land, about the law of the country, right? About the law of, in fact, the entire population of Barbados needs to be educated about land and the proper use of land, the ownership of land, and what it can and can't do as it relates to development,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if you put political people on the boards of town and country planning to make to turn the country and the use of land and development as a pure money and investment decision, then you end up with situations like this, right? Because who in their right minds was tell you a land deed and tell you that you own out to the rock and you believe them? You own out to a rock in the sea. You can't own no rock out to no rock in the sea. That would mean that we have private beaches in Barbados.
Wow. Well, I tell you, so these, oh my Lord, I wanted to ask something about back to Welch's. I call it Welch's. Um, what about the road at the St. John's Peak? Did they say anything about completely fixing that road?
Well, they're saying no, and again, I have video evidence, I have written evidence where the representative for St. John promised those people, also the Prime Minister promised that Welsh would be one of the first roads done when they got into government. I have the clips, right? And they said it. He said it. He promised those people.
I
Up to now, not a drop of Barbara Green. Nothing has happened for the people in Welch and St. John as from this government. Nothing, nothing, nothing. Not a road, not a street light. In fact, what the government did was to go into Welch and put up a big billboard telling people not to construct any more structures in Welch St. John because it's a squatters area and people were just putting up houses and building. They put up a billboard and told people not to erect any more structures and if they erect any more illegal structures that the government of Barbados will come and let them down. That is what they did.
Wow. Wow. Wow, that is something else, huh? I tell that we were at the beginning of the program talking about our colonial leaders and well, leadership and colonial education for producing colonial leaders and that have black face, because this is a perfect example. So the people down in Welches, they don't pay taxes and they couldn't get a bit of this road that was being fixed. Look at this. Somebody said that they have to take off their shoes and walk out. They will mash up the shoes.
Hmm. Well, this is how I perceive it. They want to drive those people from living in these areas because I also heard that the people of Welsh were told that they have to wait on the Scotland District Rehabilitation Project to get this road done. This is the same project funded by the Chinese,
Mm-hmm.
right? My analysis is that the government is intended to bring development to St. John. So a lot of the important views, a lot of the important land are being sold. And remember, we had the rezoning of the land under the Barbados Water Authority Amendment Act,
Yes.
then to change out the ozone system. And you remember the Deputy Prime Minister, Sante Basha, who was the Minister of Water Resources at the time, she said that the government now has 3,737 acres of land available for investment, right? And
Right.
come on, how you got so much thing? So we also discussed that waterfront and a lot of the beachfront. would have been included because if you change the old zone A or the
Yes.
old zone water zone A and you made zone A, which was areas prone to have water log and flooding and stuff, and you make that smaller, that means you're taking the areas that have water settlements in it and saying that people can now invest on it, especially if you have what they were calling the sewage network. Is a specific name. I can't remember what it's called. Um, help me, Calvin. The if you don't have a suck well, you don't have a sewage thing. You usually got to get some.
They're gonna get
What do people in St. Thomas need?
a septic tank.
Right, a septic system. Right. So if you put in the septic system, so that your sewage or affluent will not penetrate the aquifer, you can go and live on water prone areas. That is what they put in the legislation. Right?
Wow. Wow. Somebody says, welcome to the plight of people in rural Barbados. And I'm telling you, St. John seems to always get a raw deal, and for people to be living like that, giving the people this, pretending as though they have the land deeds and thing when it's, it's nothing of the sort. This is pure evil, Kimar, and I'm so glad that you are bringing to the fore, the plight of the people in St. John. It is so important for them to have. You're doing way more than their current representative is doing. I didn't even know his name until the show. You're doing way more than the current representative is doing for St. John, Kimar.
Yeah. Well, he's busy as since he's the minister in charge of sports. He's busy focusing on World Cup that is being held in the middle of the hurricane season. So he has a lot of challenges on his hand. However, when the real hurricane season comes into bear, the rural parts of Barbados, not just St. John, but St. Joseph, St. Thomas, St. Andrew, these areas are seriously impacted by hurricanes.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I think from here on out that after the World Cup ends, which is most likely to be affected by serious rains, and I still can't get it understood why would you hold a World Cup in the middle of hurricane season anyway. But I think priority needs to be put on those people living in the eastern corridors of the country, because if a lot of these roads become damaged, these people can't get out. Right? The ambulances can't get in. The garbage trucks can't get in. The buses can't get in and out. Cars can't get in and out. Right? And if you have emergencies and people houses blowing down and elderly people who may have injuries, these people are trapped. Right?
Kimar, somebody said something here about this. When you think about it, and this is the part that I'm going back as well, Mr. Franklin, to the beginning of this program. When we think of the type of leaders that we have, that they will take up $5 million of our own money and spend it on oysters. Can you imagine, Kima, that they claim they spend on oysters? Can you imagine, Kimar, what they could do in St. John with $5 million?
Well, I thought that $5 million in oysters for me. Well, think about the $60 million that was spent up at pool in St. John with that whole project. Right? So add the 5 million, add another 60 million, and then add up all of these loans that we got for COVID.
And
Right?
we have another loan now, Mr. Franklin. We have another loan. I would really love to be in the homes of Barbadians. I hear what they're really thinking about this madness. This is total madness. These people need to go yesterday. They'll come in the paper, your friend Ryan Strong with a big smile on his face, that we're getting 3 to 4 million UK loan for climate resilience. Another loan again, and when we get the money, we don't know what we're doing with we can't see what is happening to it. Look at these rural places. Look at St. Joseph. Look at St. John. Look at even St. Thomas. Go ahead, Mr. Franklin.
No, I just wanted to correct Aaron Hunt, and we said, well, $5 million spent in Oistins, and somebody just said it was you that said it was spent on Oistins. It wasn't spent on Oistins. It was spent on Chantal Monroe Knight election prospects. That is what it was spent for. It was spent for her and against Ralph. That is what it's all about. To bake her up in the eyes of the electorate, say, see what she has done for the constitution. She's got $5 million up here, and that's where all the tanks right. You know what? You see them? And so this is government using government money for party political purposes. That is, if it isn't corruption, it is so close you can't make up. He told him is that me and my cousin, somebody thinks that he's always call him me and me him sometimes. There'll be two brothers' children and he looks like me or I look like him. That is as close as that.
I just make me sad. Somebody says here, Kimar, which is what Kimar has been saying this on the show. Kimar, you said Dale Real said St. John and that side of Barbados is what the Chinese want for development because of what is under the land. The most springs, fresh water, look closer. Kimar had been saying this, and I'm saying, I don't know, sometimes Kimar, sometimes Mr. Franklin, you just wonder, where is this? Can people see what is going on? You're wondering, I don't know. But Kimar, jump in there.
Well, we've been saying a lot of things about that. And by the way, the CV machine is back at work. So the CV machine got a job for worker. Right? And they made sure they, brought the media, everybody to take pictures of the CV machine. Right? This is after the CV machine was at Concept Bay, rushing away. You had Kurt Humphrey coming up to Concept, right? And we spoke about Concept, the crappy work that they did on the jetty. Not hearing that they're digging up the whole jetty fresh, now to build it over, right? But the CV machine was down there. We highlighted it. They moved it in the dead of night. CV machine is no longer there. They then moved it from there and they took it to another location. And that location was in Botanical Gardens in NCC Yard. Right? So I don't know if they had any seaweed machine and have any seaweed in the Botanical Gardens that they needed to harvest, but that is where they took it. So they took it from Botanical Gardens and they have it now on the beaches and they're taking pictures. They didn't show pictures with it on the water working, right? But they showed it on the beach, on the sand, and they had a little headline at the bottom saying that after public criticisms that the machine was rusted away, here the sea, but she hard at work.
But I say in the sea, because it was supposed to get the seaweed from in the sea, not from in the beach, because the beach you go wreck it up. It is up there. You want to get it before it get to the beach.
Yeah.
They were
But
pretending again.
it's 10 o'clock, and I'm really hoping that we can do something. Mr. Franklin and Kimar, read the people in rural Barbados. It just hurts my heart, really, to see how they're neglected, and we need to find a way to highlight them, and highlight what is happening. But it's 10 o'clock, and we have a march tomorrow. Kimar, what you want to say to the people about this march tomorrow?
Yeah, well, we outside. We outside tomorrow, Saturday, June the 8th. Freedom of expression on the track. the cybercrime bill. They want to take our voices away, so come out tomorrow to the protest and roadside parliament. Let's not forget roadside parliament. We have that as well. So looking forward to seeing you at both events. Because we are fighting for the rights of the people, not just in Barbados, but Jamaica, Guyana, Trinidad, all regional.
Yes.
Um, so just come on out, support the marches, tell a friend to tell a friend, and let us do it together.
Yes, and at the roadside parliament, we have Reverend Joseph Athley, Rose Carbon, Lynette Eastman, Victor Lewis from Joe's River, and Richard Seeley, Ras Simba, and we have Kimar Stewart. So all of those will be speaking at roadside parliament. All right, this is on Sunday. We really need you to come out for the march tomorrow. Come out for the march tomorrow. Mr. Franklin, let's have the final word on the show tonight.
Yes, thanks, Marcia. I had intended tonight to talk about the Holidays Repair Act because I had a lot of concerns about that this week alone, where people were dismissing people and sending them on holiday at the same time as illegal in Barbados. But I will get back to that another time. I was so impressed with the young man. I wanted to hear more and more of him, and we cannot just restrict him to 20 minutes and work at the at 3 o'clock in the morning. There, so I encourage everyone who is on this show to go back and listen to him, and tell and share it, tell people about it, because you know you're hearing from Kimar, and you're hearing from me, and you're hearing from Mars. So I tell me and say, well, but no, you listen to an independent voice who was not influenced by any of us, and he's saying a lot of the things that we are saying, put them differently, more eloquently than I could, But so we need, and I was grateful. So don't think that, as I said to people, there's no problem with me and Marcia. It's just that I was not well, and I gave up my time tonight, okay, because I wanted to hear more and more of that man. So just wait a while. I'll be here. I'm not going anywhere. So I'm telling you, next time that I'm on, we will talk about these things. So I haven't.
I know, people, there's so much, why they are so concerned. There is usually when anything good gets started, sometimes we ourselves destroy it. Mr. Franklin, and people are worried. They would see me, they want to make sure that it stays together, everybody stay together, because all that we've known is things that are going good for the country. Before you know it, people start to bicker with one another. We're jostling for positions and all of these other different little things. And I want people to know tonight the kind of character that Mr. Franklin has, that he didn't come on here fighting for a spot. In fact, he gave up his spot to the gentleman that he's never met, and he's done it so many times on the show. And that's the kind of person that Mr. Franklin is. And I'm telling you, he has I tell you, but both Dave and I, we just admire him. We admire him, Mr. Franklin. You don't even know. And we talk
Marcia,
about
there's something that the note you sent to me where somebody was saying that you cut me and stuff. Well, trust me, if Marcia don't cut me, I ain't gonna stop talking. So I know me well enough that I will keep on going. So sometimes that's why we have a moderator. That's her job. So don't think I will be back at these topics. Don't worry, I'm not going anywhere, and there's no ill will or ill feeling or bad blood amongst us. Trust me on that. I wouldn't come here and try to think. I'm staying exactly where I am. I've had offers to do my own show and all kind of stuff. I tell them I'm sticking with Marcia. And so don't worry about it. We will be here and we will continue doing what we do as a team together.
Yes. And right, somebody said Mr. Franklin is a great man. And I tell people that all the time. is what I tell people. And for me, it's an honor. It's really an honor. The entire panel. I was thinking about that today. I said, my goodness, where would we be, Kimar, without this panel? Where would we be? Miss McLean, is because of Miss McLean why we had this young man this evening, and she's told me about him for about 3 weeks now. Miss McLean has made so much contribution. Kimar has made so much contribution through this show to Barbados. So, because that's the other thing that people don't realize, Mr. Franklin, that we do this for Barbados. We do this for Barbados is what we do. And to everybody, Rose, thank you for joining tonight and your contribution. Always well researched. It takes time, It takes time to research all these things. So we want to thank.
That's a fact. Look, this is my presentation for the next yeah.
And Mr. Franklin didn't get to do it, and he's not
doing it again.
Now.
Because it takes time. You have to sit down and you have to go back to make sure, even though you think you know, you have to go back and make sure that what you're saying is correct. So it is not something just come here and talk over the top of your head. It's so I tell you, but it will come. It will come.
Yes, most definitely. So tomorrow we are, Mr. Franklin, can you describe for them where exactly they're at the crossroads? Sometimes I forget the name of the street. Redmond Drive.
It's Redmond Drive. For those who would have been arrested anytime recently, would have been ready. The shady event, down there, motor services, the Platinum Motors, where the ZRs come out to the bus stand, all of those references, and to emerge by the traffic lights. It's the traffic lights when you're going down Cheapside. If you're leaving town and you're going down Cheapside, you see traffic lights at 40 Bell. It's the left turn, like you're going back to the harbor. That's where we're going. You can't miss it. It's too easy to find. If you pass those traffic lights, you will have passed us.
Yes. That's where we're going to start, and then we are going to go to Independence Square, and we have a different route, and we work with what we have. Okay, we have a big sound system, and it will carry. Our sound system is very loud. All right, so guys, a good night, and we see you tomorrow, bright and early, 10 o'clock. All right, thank you, Kimar. God bless. Bye-bye, Rose. Bye-bye, Miss McLean. Bye-bye, everybody. See you all. And let me not touch that because we haven't had our Dave. Dave's still there. Where are the songs? I'm not sure.
That maths nor English. English. Pretending to be good. Pretending to be good. Just pretending to be good. Pretending to be good. I just pretending to care about people. 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 Pretending. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. I'm pretending to be good. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people.
Promise us a better tomorrow. Tell me that it's suffering done. Me a take the vote and let me down. Me a take the vote and let me down. She did only want little dealing, big contracts and not corruption. Me a take the vote and let me down. Me a take the vote and let me down. Barbados is too small for me. My pocket full, now you ain't job they promise me. And a girl like me want power and more money. You cry transparency, but that's a no for me. Promise us a better tomorrow. Tell me that it's suffering done. Me a take the vote and let me down. Me a take the vote and let me down. She did only want little dealing, big contracts and not corruption. Me a take the vote and let me down. Me attack the vote and levy down.
Oh my lordy, I tell you, I want to get the rest of that song. But good night.